So I don't blame you for taking your time.
So, okay, so I'm just loading in now. So I was, of course, getting the current drivers that are on the field at the moment. So I'm just kind of bringing myself up to speed on where we exactly stand. So my game taking a little time to do that.
Yeah,
so
it's going to take you a little bit of time, yeah.
So yeah, thank you guys for manning the fort. And Miner, you're a crazy man for wanting to do the entire 24-hour stint. But for that, we are ever thankful. You guys are utter veterans in this particular field. So yeah, I'm just catching up with who's here with Crikey. So early in the race, we've already lost 8 cars.
Yeah.
Wow. A few on lap 1 as well. Wow.
Well, some of it, I've been kind of watching the Discord a little bit, and from what I found in the YouTube chat as well, some of it is lag.
Oh, I see.
And in a lag situation, you are allowed to come back.
I see.
If for some reason that you, as in, let's say you, King-Kodiak, lag out of the race, actually have a lag, right?
Yeah.
The server recognizes it as a lag. Car gets sent back to the garage. You can come back into the car. But only you. Your teammate cannot. That's just the way it works, right?
Oh, okay.
Now, we thought we saw a couple instances of that earlier. I believe it was D'Alessandro in the memes car. Unfortunately, that was not the way it worked out. But some of these, you can see 3 of these are actual engine failures.
Yeah, one on that one as well. I mean, what a way to go. I mean, these guys have been practicing for so long, all the hours, all the training, and bang, don't even see a complete lap. That must be, you know, my heart goes out to them. It really does.
Well, you know, and the other thing too is you really do have to have a fairly decent computer to race in this. I mean, some of these guys are running VR and things like that, and I've known people who can run VR on other games and can run VR in rFactor too, but when they go to do a 24-hour race or even a 12-hour race, they don't run the VR.
Right. Yeah, I can understand
sure,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to make sure.
Yeah.
You put in a month's worth of practice, you want to make sure you can make the race, you know? So we're starting to see some pit stops. Those Jem Bullock-Bassi coming in from the lead now. He will probably be overtaken by Philip Kraus and, yeah, probably by Ross Woodford as well. Alexei Korsman in 4th will not be able to get there. Luis Moreno came in to the pits as well. I believe he was sitting top 5, and now he's in 7th place. Jem now down. Philip Kraus doing a fantastic job. We're seeing some RF2 F1 stars come out here and really shine. King-Kodiak, I don't know if you've been following that, even though you have all yours to follow. The RF2 stars really starting to shine brightly here as we are just about 4 hours into this, or 15 minutes away from 4 hours into this race officially. Already had 60 laps completed here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. And I have to admit, being a former P2 driver, that is actually fairly impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. We're running the P2s and the GTEs. Last week, I was very fortunate enough to commentate on the VEC, the Virtual Endurance Championship, for their 24-hour event. So that was quite amazing as well.
How many stints did you do there?
I did 3 stints for them. Again, another bit of background. That is Ninja Rider's former stomping grounds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Been there many times.
And, yeah, I did 3 stints. I did the beginning stint. So I started at 1:30 for the pre-show. Went through to 5 o'clock. This is, of course, British time. So that was the first 3 hours. And then I rejoined the commentary box at 8 a.m. the Saturday. And everything had completely changed.
Yep.
It was incredible, the amount of, you start to get a feeling. The first 3 hours you start to get a kind of a feel of, okay, they've got decent pace, their car looks good. And then I came back and, like, for instance, the leader of the P1s was 7th out of 8 in class, so it just completely turned around. And
then that's the hardest thing about these races, especially in simulation. To be completely consistent all the time is nearly impossible.
Oh yeah.
Alexei Korsman from 4th place now coming into the pits. this is right about the time. If I'm honest, Kodiak, we're seeing about 15 laps or so, give or take 45 to 50 minutes, 55 minutes for some P2s. The GTs I've been seeing last about 55 to 60 minutes, give or take. Really just depends on the way they're driving and if they're trying to catch people, and you know how it goes. But the GT's a lot more sensitive to that stuff. But the tires are such a factor here because they can really only run the softs.
Sure.
P2 able to double stint fairly easily. They do need to back off on that second stint, it seems. The GTs I have not been able to confirm, but it looks like they do need to change tires every time, simply because they're so much harder or so much heavier.
Sure,
but I could be wrong. So if somebody could confirm that for me, that would be awesome.
Well, they've got less downforce to rely on, so they will naturally slide much more than the P2s will. Well, if the P2s are sliding as much as GTs, then the P2s are having a bad day. So, yeah, I would perfectly understand that the GTs chewing up their tyres a little bit more. Yeah, it was so it was 3 stints I did for the VEC. It was the first stint, then it was 8 till 10, had a quick power nap, and then it was 11 till finish. And I tell you what, actually the hardest part was the shortest one. It was the hardest stint for me was that 2-hour one first thing in the morning, because the field was just totally spread out. And it was kind of difficult. And then I was kind of then getting the updates from the various commentators that had been with us throughout the night as well. We have a couple more people in the pits. Philip Kraus and Saul Sanchez has come in. Sanchez had to wait for his pit box as well as Danny Quiro in the Aston. As I understand, there's a fair bit of pit box sharing going on, which is a little bit unfortunate if you're the one behind. But that is the nature of the beast. Jem Bulabasi then retaking the lead of the race.
We did kind of see that coming with Kraus and Ross Woodford coming in a lap later than Jem. Kind of just the way it goes. Luis Moreno from 7th place is now in the garage. Yeah,
Luis Moreno's had a trouble then, so he will be parked for now. But exactly as you were saying earlier, that doesn't look like it's a car fault. I would imagine that is a disconnection issue of sorts, which again we saw some of those last weekend as well. I keep kind of referring to a non-AOR event, but that's my main basis of comparison as far as 24-hour runnings are concerned.
Well, yeah, but I believe there were a lot of crossover drivers anyways. So
sure.
It's a good comparison, honestly. VEC always puts on a fantastic event, no matter what.
Yeah.
And their 24-hour race is their premier race. So I've been mentioning VEC a few times just kind of in my own experience.
Sure.
And I don't know if you know this, but yeah, I raced there for I believe it was 3 years.
Jimmy was in chat earlier.
3 full seasons. Oh, Jimmy was here earlier. Cool. Jimmy Allison.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Who now works for rFactor 2.
Yes.
Part of their esports initiative, if I'm not mistaken. Which is good to see. That man's the man. Tell you what.
Alvaro Baker has come in from. He'll be, what is he, 4th in class in the Aston. So you can't see any obvious damage on his car, so it looks like a fairly regular start for him. As Jem then chases down who will that be? Of course, I'm kind of catching up with who is who. I'm familiar with some of these names, of course, but not necessarily everybody.
We have somebody in the interview box. If you're ready to drag them in if you want to.
We have someone wanting to talk to us. Mr.
Somebody called
Non-Runner, yes, that's a person I am familiar with, so I'm going to drag him over. Let's have a little word with him. Hello, Non-Runner.
Hello, guys.
How are you? Now, of course, you're a name I'm very, very familiar with. I've commentated on you many times on the F1 2017 side. How are you doing?
Yes, I just had my first stint. I took the car from Tim, and well, everything went pretty smoothly. Had some pretty close situations with overtaking other people, but no issues, no major issues. So the car is still intact and going there pretty smoothly.
So how's everything stacking up? I guess you kind of had a plan of action, you know, a strategy, or a loose strategy at least, for when to pit, and if things are going well, this is how we're going to attack the race. How is everything going according to plan so far?
Well, everything's going according to plan. Since basically there's no damage to the car, so we just run our cars empty of fuel and then come to pit. That's basically our strategy. So it's going pretty well at the moment.
Excellent, excellent. Who's in your car at the moment?
It's Joni Suominen, also known as Suobbis. From AOR.
Yes, of course. I know most people's online name, not necessarily. Yep, there you are. Currently 6th on the lead lap still, so that's always a positive. And that might sound like a bit of a backhanded comment, but in endurance racing, it's so easy to fall a lap behind the leaders, and that's not necessarily meaning you're slow. Just you have one issue, and the front runners can very easily put a lap or two on you, and that makes it that much more difficult to stay in touch with the top pack. So, still on the lead lap. That's a good amount of progress we can see.
Yeah. It's the top guys are just basically too fast for us. So our main objective is to keep the car on track. So we're still happy to be within the same lap with the leaders, but probably that's going to change pretty soon. But well, who knows? Maybe the leaders will get some problems or something.
It's so possible, and you're not too far actually behind the next car, Marco Rodriguez. Was it about 12 seconds, I think, at the time you crossed the line?
Give or take, yeah.
So yeah, that's nothing to scoff at either. And of course, 12 seconds in a number of racing categories is quite a big distance, but over a 24-hour event, it's really nothing insurmountable.
It's really close distance still, but yeah, I have to look at the gap, how it's developing, and well, the most important thing is of course to keep the car on track. That's the main thing.
What sort of setup have you gone for? This is something that I was talking to a number of the drivers last week for VEC, and there was a few different answers to that kind of question. Do you kind of find like a baseline setup and then kind of make compromises to try and suit all the drivers that are going to take it over? Or do you go with, this is how the car's set up, and then the drivers then have to get used to it?
Well, basically, maybe a little bit mix of both. So someone found a good setup, and we all tried it, and we all agreed that we can drive with this, and it's like decent in pace. So we kind of stuck to that. We don't have that much experience in setting up the car still, so well, we're pretty happy with the setup. It's pretty stable, and maybe not the fastest, but it's stable.
Awesome
and
stuff.
Everyone keep the car on track with that setup.
And honestly, that's going to be the biggest key through the night as well. We're going to see a lot of people get a little shaky.
Especially through the night when people get exhausted and so on.
You don't want a twitchy car when you're trying to
No.
navigate a cold track.
Yeah. Yep.
So are you back in the car, non-runner?
I will be back in the car at night at I think it's like 2:30 a.m.
Nice.
UK time.
Well,
so it will be pretty dark then.
Rest well then, and thank you for spending some time talking to us. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you. It's a shame I didn't get more opportunities to talk to you in the F1 races, but I'm glad to have a word with you whilst in this particular setting. So rest well, and we will see you back on track.
Yes, thank you. See you.
So that's non-runner then, and their car currently in 6th position, piloted by Joni Suominen. He has just gone past one of the GTs, Moriente, I think it is. Francesco Morente.
A couple of pit runners here. Tommy Litalo is back in the Royal Blue car. Dominic Lambrecht is in the car right now. I believe that's going to be a driver change, and Adam State, I believe, was in the pits as well.
Yep.
Getting just some fresh tires, and he's going to try again to get back on the same lap as the other competitors. He's not had a great day, but he's still running. That's the best thing for them, especially with as many problems as they've had so far.
It's always a major thing, and again, for those that aren't necessarily used to or particularly familiar with endurance racing, it can sound like a really strange statement, to still be in it. Well, that is the main goal of endurance racing. You've got to keep the car good, you've got to keep the car stable, and that is far more difficult than anyone that isn't used to endurance racing can really comprehend. It is so hard when you've been in the car for a number of hours, especially towards there's two stints that are very difficult. One at the beginning when the pack is very, very compact. You've got to, of course, you should be at your most awake by then, but mistakes are very costly, especially if you take a lot of cars with you. But it gets really difficult in the middle of the night because it's so easy to lose your concentration, and because there's a large element of you can't see a great deal because it's dark.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to lose concentration. And when you've been in the car, you've had your sleep pattern is completely out the window because you've had like a 2-hour power nap between your last stint and the current one, and things like that. It all adds up. And over the course of a 24-hour race, those things creep in. Exactly as Non-Runner was saying, they're kind of hoping for the top guys to have problems. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's so easy to do.
The biggest thing, at least for myself, when I was doing the crazy endurance races, is it's 11 a.m. here. What time is it in the UK right now?
It is 20:07 in the evening.
In the evening, right? So this is right around the time when myself or Minor would come in and jump in the car for the first time, because our UK teammates would be tired from the start of the race. They've already done the first stint, and so Minor and I would Minor or myself or potentially another one of our US counterparts would jump in the car, and the UK boys would call it an evening until early in the morning, maybe 3-4 a.m. and us US guys would just keep it going. So the best thing that you can have, honestly, on a driving team is an international crew.
Oh, completely, yeah. No, absolutely.
Now the problem with that, of course, is when one crew has a problem with their setup, or they can't get in the game, or the steering wheel breaks, or you forget to set your bindings on your keys and you slam into the wall at Spa at full force, and you somehow manage to save the car. Minor, hello.
Shut up. Shut up.
Ooh,
we finished the race, okay?
We did finish the race.
He sounded sore there, didn't he?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a story for another time, I'm sure. But we, the UK guys needed to jump in the car because, the US guys are completely worn out. There's just no way, but your US guys or, your Middle Eastern guys end up having to run much longer than anticipated, and you start to experience what I like to call the vanishing point effect, where everything starts to run together, and you're not exactly sure what's happening.
Yeah, autopilot really takes over.
But for some reason, you still make it through the Porsche corners.
Yeah, it's you get to a point where you've just done this kind of stint. You get to the end of it, and then you kind of think, what did I just do? How did I just do that?
How in the world did I not take the whole front end of the car off?
Yeah. Yeah, completely. Yeah. And also, when fatigue is really rife, you've been in the car for hours. Yeah, it's particularly the middle of the night is the hardest one, but also towards the end of the race, when you know the end is in sight, you're trying to focus, but your body just desperately wants to shut down. It's when the penalties start creeping in. You start just pushing the track limits a little bit too hard, and it can be pretty unforgiving when, again, just a few penalties and bang, you've lost a position. And all that, you start to undo all that great work that your entire team's put in. You could potentially lose it. And if you throw it in the wall, you'll lose it in the corner. But you start to just And that can really play on your mind. Frustration then starts to build in, and that sort of thing can snowball. So it comes back down to something I talked about a lot last week is discipline, mental discipline. Just keeping yourself in the right mindset, keeping yourself calm, and using as much focus as you've got left in your body, digging as deep as you can to bring the car home.
One of the many tricks that I've learned over the years, when it comes to real endurance simulation racing, is to practice in the car when the car is not set up.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just slightly different, right? So you take your setup, whatever setup you're going to run for the race, right? And then you, I don't know, you tighten the roll bar a little bit more, just to see what happens, like in the front.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's going to make your car push, but that's going to simulate the changes the track may or may not have as your tires go away, right? And that's going to be completely different than what you experience. And as the tires wear down and you're starting to get tired, the car starts to change much more drastically than it normally would, and you're already used to it. You're already looking for it. Then, a couple of days before the race, you'll want to stay up all night, right? Stay up as long as you can. Right before you go to bed, jump in the car for an hour.
Yeah, sure.
Or at least a whole stint, right? A whole fuel run. Just so you know what it's like to be tired as heck and jumping in the car and ready and preparing yourself to be ready to go no matter what. Developing that muscle memory when you are that tired is so important to the success of your stint. And these are all just things that you can do personally, and it's going to come down to obviously the team performance to bring the car home all the way through, and the only thing that you can control as a driver is what you put into the car.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great tips there, and that's not just for a 24-hour event either. Even your
12-hour,
yeah,
12-hour, yeah,
probably not really too applicable to a less than 6 hour. A 3-hour, I suspect, wouldn't really need that much, but really you'd have to start the day tired for a 3-hour event to need that kind of training. But yeah, I mean, it's that sort of thing can make all the difference. The leader can very easily throw it into the wall with one mistake, and that is again, it's something that every racing driver fears, but it's something that I absolutely admire from all the drivers that have taken part. Not for all those that have fallen a bit by the wayside, it's a bit of a shame. Looks like Luis Moreno has not been able to return to the car.
I had some confirmation on that. It looks like he might have had a disconnect or a computer trouble or something while on the track, and that does rFactor does count that as a DNF.
So he can't return to the car.
I think we need to explain this a little bit. There's been some controversy in the chat, in the YouTube chat, about drivers being a little bit angry that they can't get back in the car, even though the disconnect, the reconnect is enabled. Okay, if for some reason the server loses connection, actual internet connection with you, okay, you will be able to join back in. If your computer crashes or the game crashes, you will not be able to join back in. Okay, and the server knows exactly how that works. It's the way the game is programmed. It's just the way it is. Okay, that's the rule. It's hard, fast, steadfast rule. If for some reason you actually lose internet connection, and the server knows it's a complete disconnect. You should, it's enabled. You should be able to jump back in. Now, if for some reason you are not able to jump back in, we don't have control over it. This is where rFactor is slightly limited. We can't just put you back in your car as admins. It's just not the way it works. And I'm sure with Jimmy Allison now involved with Studio 397 and a variety of other people now working on an esports side for rFactor, I'm pretty certain they're going to start working on these things, but it will take time. So we're going to have to, as drivers and as commentators and as organizers, we're going to have to be very patient with this stuff, because not that the programmers just take forever. It's that it does take a long time.
Yeah, these things have to be done right. There is no point trying to fix a problem with a bodge, throw it in there and hope that it works. Any game that is going into an esports arena needs to get its problem sorted out. Ideally before it gets there, but certainly whilst it's there.
PUBG. What?
Oh, a bit of a tickly cough there, Curtis.
I think it need a bit of a lozenge.
But yeah, I mean, it really needs to get these things sorted out. But it's got to do it properly. There's no point trying to fix a problem and then creating another one. That's not going to do anybody any favors. So
I'd like to give a perfect example of that. Of a game that figured itself out before becoming an esport, Rainbow Six Siege.
Good old
Not a big
Siege.
esport yet, but Siege has been around for a few years now, and they finally starting to turn it into an esport, and it's doing very well. It is hype as heck. It's really very good. That said, I mean, you have some very cool heads over at Studio 397 and the developers of rFactor. They've been at this for years. It's not just a game they're going to put out. The rFactor 2 has been around for a few years now, and they're constantly updating it. They're constantly finding ways to make it better. Now they need to make it more efficient. Now I don't know how they're going to do that, but it's obviously not my problem. but I can tell
nothing
you
we can talk about.
Nothing we can do about it. Not our problem. But I mean, we can make suggestions, obviously. But whether they can implement them or not without releasing a whole new game, I don't know.
It is true. It is true. But I mean, rFactor 2 has a huge backing in as forms of fan base, in forms of how many people still drive this game. I mean, I think it was released in 2013, so I believe so. It's got quite a few years under its belt, but it still has a colossal following. It still has organizations such as us here at AOR. It's got VEC. It's got these organizations still putting in the time, organizing these huge 24-hour events and leagues and tournaments and what have you, using what is quite a comparatively old game, but it's still got the support out there. There's still mods being developed. There's still things being done for the love of this game, and long may it continue because of the backing that it has.
rFactor 1 was around for something like 10 or 12 years.
Wow.
Before the announcement of rFactor 2. The announcement of rFactor 2.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but you have to remember that's how good rFactor 2 is. It's as a base game, or as I should rephrase that, as a base simulator, it's fantastic. It really is up to the modders to make it as beautiful as it can be. The WEC mod for VEC was absolutely fantastic. Well done. The End Erasers mod, obviously well done. And the ability to change it up to fit whatever you need it to fit based off of driver skill or needs of your league or whatever, is one of the attractions of rFactor 2. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure there are a couple of people here at AOR that would say, no, this is really hard. And trust me, it's not anybody can do it, but you can learn how to do it. And let's face it, you buy a full-blown simulator, what are you going to want on it? Are you going to want Project Cars?
It would depend on what you're looking for, but again,
no, I don't think you'd want Project Cars. I think you want this, the one that professional teams use.
Yeah, completely. But the average user isn't going to want something quite that in depth. But yeah, if you're wanting, the best simulation out there, then this is most certainly in the running for that. Absolutely.
I'm just kind of looking through the field a little bit.
That's exactly what I've been doing whilst we were talking there. I've been
doing.
Looking through the field.
Fairly spread out. I think I mentioned about an hour ago that we're starting to hit that point in the race where everybody's a little bit spread out. They're kind of running laps, making sure that their strategy is well and good.
15th and 16th are close together. Whilst just as you were saying that, Juan Roguez, is it Roguez? Roguez, yeah. And Alvaro Baker. Baker has been reeling in the white Aston as they're on the Mulsanne straight at the moment. They've just gone through the first chicane, so Baker is really looking to make a move. I did wonder whether Roguez was actually going to defend that line.
It's 4th and 5th for GTLM, by the way.
That it is.
I'm on board. No, I'm not.
And Baker didn't go for the move at the moment.
Good move by Baker. He backed off. I think he saw Ross Woodford in his rearview mirrors. He decided to just kind of back off a little bit.
Good spot.
Long race. Long race.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's racing drivers love to race. That sounds like a really obvious statement, but what that basically means is when you're in a position such as this, it's very easy to think, oh, I've got to make the pass, There's a long way to go. If you're on the last lap, if you're in the dying minutes of the race, sure, throw it up the inside and see if it sticks. No point at this stage in the game. Very long way to go. There's no point trying a risky move and jeopardizing yours and potentially someone else's race as well. So that's what I mean is the races have to kind of just keep in perspective where they are in the race so far and not just not let that kind of racing instinct of I must make the pass now take over.
So we actually missed our hourly update. The 4-hour update. Oh, a big lockup though.
Oh dear.
Roguez into Indianapolis just completely locked up those front wheels. Oh, I do not want to be handling that steering wheel right now. It will be shaking.
Yeah, looking too. It was concentration too much behind him on Baker there, and completely missed the braking point and just stuck the anchors on too hard.
And that's an easy corner to mess up too. If you, and you're staring at a wall when you come up to it.
So there's an element of there's a very big element of oh my god, please stop. Yeah, and it's such an awkward braking zone because you just got that right-hand kink right as the point that you want to brake. So you either just back the speed off a little earlier, get the car settled down and then brake, or you kind of try and, if you've got the balance in the car, sure. But many times I've tried to drive this track and lost it there for that very reason because I'm trying to brake and turn at the same time.
Don't want to do that through
No. Cars don't like it too much.
No, you have to get that early braking point in.
Roguez just
roll through just fine.
Yeah, Roguez so he's not liking those tires at all because he just missed the first part of the pit entry.
Oh god, oops.
Yeah, so either he's got a problem of some description, or he's just the best of those tires are just completely gone, which would explain how, or a possible reason why Baker was able to close in on him towards the end. Oh, did he miss his pit box? No, he has stopped.
No, he got it.
Because the way he came to a stop was like, oh dear, he didn't overshot the box, did he? Which again is one of those things that's really easy to do, but really embarrassing to do at the same time. It's like a really slow crash as well.
Actually, I've kind of noticed this in rFactor is it's actually easy to stop short because of the way the arrow points down.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes you think you're a little bit. You're way closer than you are. You have to kind of get dead on the arrow, and then it'll go. If you pass it a little bit, it's okay. It'll put you right back.
Fons is in from 28th overall. So what's that? 12th or so in class, along with Darrell Russell, the current last place runner. Sounds a little bit disingenuous to say last place runner, but bear in mind that potentially 9 cars have fallen by the wayside. So yeah, again, that they are doing all right. They're running their own race.
That car has had quite a few issues. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I heard somewhere that they had some issues at the very beginning, kind of put them at the back, and in trying to catch up, they've made a few mistakes.
There was a driver swap. Roguez is out, Sarabia is in.
They're going to have to figure that one out. But 19th overall, Sarabia is in. That was a driver swap.
Yep.
I didn't catch who was in there.
Roguez.
Oh, that was Roguez.
Oh, yeah.
Very good, yes.
So maybe if he was coming to the end of his stint, then he would probably be quite tired. Oh, who was that running slowly in the red Aston? Didn't see who that was. Jamie Pounder was just running very slowly there. I don't know whether he was trying to. I think it might have been. Yeah, he would have been under blue flags actually. So he was probably trying to get out of the way of the GTEs just coming through. But it was really close. Oh dear! Saying that, he's actually gotten in the way of Jimmy Paul.
Well, no. Actually, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's running his line. Again, this is the huge difference between, say, F1 and high-level endurance racing.
Mm-hmm.
The slower car must keep their line and stay consistent. It is what it is.
Sure.
Okay, the faster car needs to get around that car in that way. Now, granted, if the faster car goes to make a pass and makes it obvious that you're there, then obviously the slower car needs to yield at that point. But no matter what, you stay on your line unless you're finally either being passed. Never, ever just let someone go. You have to be passed properly. Like right there, Fonz is going to go right past Pounder through a drag race, and it'll everything will work fine. There's an LMP2 behind him as well.
That's Blake.
That is Blake. Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
Well done.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
even though Blake nearly actually bounced into the back of Fonz there.
Oops.
But yeah, exactly that. If the reason for that is that it's up to the emphasis is on the faster car to plan their way past the slower one. What they don't want is the slower car to suddenly jump out of the way, because that is so much more difficult to anticipate for the faster car. And again, you do not want to be trying to guess what your opponent is going to be doing when you've been in the car for 6 hours and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So again, you've got that level of consistency there where it's up to the slower car to be predictable in that particular circumstance.
I'm just saying that there was an accident between that red Aston and the blue Aston behind him at turn 1.
So Pounder was already in an incident at turn 1. Oh, is that why he was running slowly?
Yeah.
So
okay, so there was a bit of an incident there.
With so Pounder was recovering from an incident then.
And it looks like he was awarded a drive-through penalty by I believe that was by the server. But that was removed as he was taking evasive action. So we do have some pretty strict track limit rules on the automatic setup, I should say. But they are being reviewed by pretty much all of the stewards, and if asked about it, we do review them actually. I see it in our stewards chat and a couple of other places where some of these things are definitely trying to avoid an accident. And obviously I don't think anybody feels that if you cut a corner because you're trying to avoid an accident and you don't gain any time, then there should be no penalty.
Oh, completely agreed. Yeah, but of course the game won't recognise the fact that you're trying to avoid an accident. It would just see the fact that you've just taken a line you shouldn't have done. As Borja Hernandez comes in the rather technicolored Aston. Hit marks, there we go. So, yeah, so then we do have live stewards that do look at these incidents, whether they are automatically generated like that, or whether there's been an incident between a couple of cars that may need manual intervention, either the removal or the application of a penalty. It can happen. It's obviously not something we particularly like to see, but it's potentially possible as Marco Rodriguez comes in from 5th place.
I just noticed that too. He's just been in the pits a little bit ago.
Oh dear. So problem then for
maybe he's had a couple of issues with the tires, and now he's got
he's having a tire change. So
he's having a tire change, yeah. So
unless he intended to have one before and for whatever reason that wasn't applied, who knows?
Man, I could have sworn he just came in a little bit ago.
Could well have been. But now only 4 cars on the lead lap. Aidan Blake is the last of the 3. And interestingly, 3 of the 4 cars on the lead lap are within a minute. Well, Jem Bolabasi is obviously the leader, but Philip Kraus has been within 15 seconds of Jem Bolabasi the whole race long. He has not fallen far, and he's maintained that gap as well.
Not to mention, Kraus has also been putting in some purple laps.
So showing the pace of that particular car as well, which is good to see. And Ross Woodford is the third car in line. He's 42 seconds down. But again, sounds a lot, but it really isn't in endurance terms. That can be, that could be making up in a pit stop. That could easily be made up. As sixth place has had a driver change for Iker Estefania.
Oh, okay, that was the guy I was just trying to figure out.
Yeah, it was Marco Rodriguez. Try that again. Marco Rodriguez.
Very long.
Yeah, I'm struggling with the bit I am trying to say, let alone trying to say the entire name. Oh, as Estefania ran a little bit wide there, coming through the Dunlop curves.
Easy to do.
Very easy to do. When you've just got in the car, the adrenaline's running a little bit high. You can just, even when you're just running your normal
tires.
Yeah. Oh yeah, brand new tyres on the car, of course. Yep, exactly as we said before. It's easy to do when you're just running your normal kind of. Oh, big problem! Just we were looking at.
Again.
Yeah, it's Adam States. He's overcooked it coming on to. It's coming out of Tetra Rouge, and that is the entire front end of the car gone. Oh, that is horrible.
Yeah.
He's got a long way to limp that car home, and that's going to be quite a long time in the pits for him.
That's the second time we've seen him do this. It might even be the third. Manages to keep it under control. He's going to have a massive push, though. So he's going to have to be very careful. Just a rough race. That's actually, believe it or not, it's a tougher corner than a lot of people think. You do have to hit it just right. And if you hit the curb a little bit too much, or if you just actually miss the curb by about a foot, you're going into the wall in some form.
Yeah, absolutely. And because you want in the LMP2s, you want to take that pretty quick. Well, you want to take it pretty quick in the GTEs, but you've got to be careful how you come into the Tetra Rouge. I don't think the GTEs can do it flat. The Ps can, but you've got to be careful how exactly as you say. You catch the curbs wrong, and that's it. You've had it, because once the back snaps to a lesser extent the GTEs, once the LMPs, once the rear snaps, you've had it. We used to tune ours to run through Tetra Rouge flat, but we'd also have to grab a little bit of the curb. And the way that a lot of people tune their cars for P2 is to grab the actual grab the end of the curb. You have to have a late apex. And you grab the end of the curb right when it ends, and it kind of just guides those inside tires and points it in the correct direction. The problem with doing that is if you're trying to make a pass, or somebody's trying to pass you, and they don't expect you to do that, it can be really hairy, because you don't expect a lot of people don't expect you to ride the curb like that. And it was completely legal because you had two wheels on the track at all times. You would hope there's more than two cars on the track at any one time.
Well, right, exactly. I hope so. It's still a race, though. Still a race.
Granted, it would be quite hard to commentate a 24-hour race with two cars.
But if a GT car is not expecting that, and you have to run the outside, you would have to basically modulate your fuel or your accelerator. And if State missed it, and he doesn't have his differential set up in the back properly, or if he's got a changing car under changing conditions and he wasn't expecting it, it's really easy for that front end to just wash out if he overloads the front end too much, because there is a bit of a dip right in the middle of that corner.
Adam State still hasn't made it back to the pits, and
he's getting there.
He's getting there, yeah.
I just want to say, go off board with him and look at his headlights when he's on the side.
Oh yeah, the headlights are still there.
Yep.
Gotta love the car model.
Magic. Well, at least he could be able to see.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got two little guys holding out lanterns at the front of the car.
They're little mice, and they're Sherlock caps.
Oh, garden gnomes or something stuck out the front of the car. So Adam Say then does make it to the. Oh, I think he did overshoot his box slightly. But, no, he didn't.
Figure it out.
And I'm gonna get this name wrong. I'm gonna go for it anyways. Joey Giesebrechts. That's what I'm gonna go with until I get told otherwise. Has just come out, so he just came out right in front of him. Also, Philip Kraus has lost some time on the back of Jim Bulabasi. I was looking at him, and he got caught behind 3 cars coming through the, I think it was the Corvette curves. He caught them, but he had absolutely no. Sorry, the Ford curves had nowhere to go. It is so frustrating. If you're an LMP car, you've got 2 cars, at least 2 cars ahead of you. There is nothing you are doing in those last 2 chicanes. It is sit back and watch, basically. Because if you try something there, you are flying off the road. Jembo Labassi then continues to lead, and his lead now 15 seconds over Philip Kraus. 43 seconds further down the road is Ross Woodford. Hayden Blake, as he's just coming through the Ford curves himself, as he starts lap 71. Johnny
Looks like the damage was repaired.
Johnny Sueminen is in 6th position. Sol Sanchez in 7th. Ika Estefania on the Hanadier in 7th position. Actually, Ninja Rider, that is something I'm going to ask you. This is something that was a little bit of a talking point between us commentators last week.
Yeah.
Mulsanne Straight or Hanadier? Which do you say?
I say the Mulsanne
So,
as an overall.
Yeah, and that's
talking about including the chicanes. It's the Mulsanne. Let's
Yeah,
face it, it's historical stuff. If you're talking about a certain section, then you go off the name of those sections.
yeah, absolutely. But every track map I found calls the Mulsanne Straight, the Hanadier, and there was something that was actually brought up last week.
Right,
And sorry, go on.
It's the first and the second Hanadier.
Oh, is that what it is? With the Mulsanne,
Yes.
with the Mulsanne hairpin at the end.
With the Mulsanne, yeah, Virage de Mulsanne. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
I listen to a lot of Radio Le Mans, my friend. This is the only reason why I know this, because when the real 24 Hours of Le Mans would come on, and I wasn't racing, I would stay up all night and all day.
Wow.
And watch the whole thing. And so they explained, at least in the way that they refer to it, is ralentisseurs are the chicanes, right? They're the first one and the second one. And then Hanadier are technically the straights. There is no difference in the names, so it's just first or second. If it's the third one, then it's Corbe de Hanadier.
Wow, I'm not even going to attempt to say any of that.
I
nowhere
think
near
I'm throwing
practice
a Spanish flair on it, which might be kind of mixing it up a little bit because it's supposed to be French, and I don't do French. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of names that aren't used by the commentators. Like after Mulsanne, that whole section of the track before Indianapolis is golf.
Oh, is it?
Bet you didn't know that.
No, I didn't. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, right. And of course, we have the producer in the background breaking out his golf clubs.
Yeah, if you wonder why the commentators go quiet, it is because it's the voice we can hear that you guys can't. And that's
we keep trying to bring him on, but he gets all shy and then he shuts up, and then we don't know what's going on. And
that's it.
Just turns, yeah, it's just not good.
You know I don't like my voice, Ninja.
And then it's the voices in our head, let alone the actual producer. It's our own inner voices that we have to deal with as well.
Right.
That's a whole different. That's a whole different issue.
Then we just start shouting and
those
go nuts.
voices.
Yeah, for example, another great one is the Porsche curves. Right, we refer to all 4 of those corners as the Porsche curves. Right? Yeah, no, it's not.
Is it?
No,
because you got the Corvette curves, the Porsche curves, and the Ford curves. Is that right?
Well, Ford, the Ford chicane technically is the first one. Recordement is the second one. Right.
Right.
But coming out of the Porsche curves, the last one technically is Corvette, right? Corvette curve.
Yeah.
Sure. The second
set. Where Bullock Bassi is now.
We're good.
Where let's see, where's Bullock Bassi at? Okay.
He's just come out of the Corvette curves, I think.
That's Corvette, yeah. So the 2 corners before that is the S's du karting.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because of the kart track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim. So that's exactly where Philip Kraus got caught out a couple of laps ago. You can see where Bullock Bassi got caught out behind Gillison. and that would have lost him a little bit, but nothing too much. But Philip Kraus had 2 cars right in his face, and there was nothing he could do. There's no way you can force a pass there, and there's no point you even trying. So that would have cost him a bit of time. That's actually given Philip Kraus about 1.5 seconds back, so he's now back within 12.5 seconds. I wonder how much... I mean, I know it's tempting when you can see... if you can see the guy ahead of you, it must be so tempting just to push a little bit more, close it in a little bit, but you risk far more than you'll gain at this stage. Again, if it was closing stages, by all means push on, but yeah, at this stage it's very easy, I would think. Now, I've never been an endurance racer. I could never do it, and I know full well. It's quite funny, I made that point last week and somebody said, yes you could. No! I know full well I couldn't.
No. You have to kind of evaluate the situation a little bit. How good are your tires? Did your car take any damage?
Mm-hmm.
Are you about to change out drivers? If it's your first stint and you're just barely getting in the car, you're fresh. You might as well go for it just to see what will happen. As long as you don't overcook your tires and you're fairly conservative on whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The trick does come down to, are you actually faster than the current driver in the car in front of you? If they're gaining time every lap, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, you're not faster, even if you start pushing. And it's not worth it. But if you're keeping pace and you feel like you could catch them within that stint or the next stint, it might be worth it to give it a try, as long as you're smart about it and you don't overcook everything.
Yeah, completely. I could never do this myself. I could never do endurance racing. So I'm bored with Philip Kraus as he just comes past a couple of the GTEs that are themselves swapping place. That's didn't see who that was. It was Giddison and who's the other one? Oh, Lewis.
Lewis.
Yes, that is Christian Lewis. So they were swapping positions as well. So yeah, I know that I couldn't do it. I couldn't remain as focused as you need to be for such a long period of time. That's why I sit in the commentary box.
You know what it is, and it all comes down to practice and practice.
Sure,
and
yeah,
practice.
completely.
You obviously, as you get more experience, it really just becomes a muscle memory. And as you go in, it usually takes about 5 or 6 laps here at Le Mans for someone who's put in a lot of practice to just get that muscle memory back, get warmed up, and take off. And it really comes down to knowing how your car is going to behave and having complete trust in your car. And when you're alone are the times when you get to let your mind just relax and work the car the way you know how. When you have traffic coming around, then you do have to start paying attention for sure as Aiden Blake comes into the pits from 4th place. You do have to make sure that you don't actually lose touch with the race. And one of the ways that you can do that is to have somebody in your comms with you, talking about whatever's going on. Obviously, it depends on the person, but we had a team, Miner and I had a team that liked to kind of joke around a little bit. As you go, sometimes they would be reading off news stories to take our minds off of, what was going on at that time and just give your mind a break.
That is so crucial. When you have to stay focused on something for, especially something as intense as driving a car very, very quickly for a long period of time, it is so important to have something just to unwind the memory a bit, just relax that bit. Obviously, if you're in an intense battle with someone, you don't really want somebody else talking to you. But in situations like this, it's so important just to be. Otherwise, you just tunnel vision, just everything's zoned down. It's so easy to just make that all important one mistake. That actually brings me on to a question for you, Ninja Rider. When you would decide in your team that you were going to enter a 24-hour event, how long would you and your teammates put in from the day you said yes, we're going to do this to race day? How much time would you dedicate to practicing for that?
At my height, it would probably be the same amount of time I would put into Rocket League casting, 3 to 4 hours a day. Probably awesome. 3 or 4 times a week.
So yeah, it's a big dedication.
Yeah, no, it all depends on the race itself and how, and it also depended on how well we knew the track.
Mm-hmm.
For some place like Le Mans, like maybe the first or second time, as Saul Sanchez actually comes in from 6th place into the pits. For Le Mans, knowing how big of and important and kind of just how fun the track is anyways, yeah, we'd be putting in probably about 3 or 4 hours just by myself. And a lot of times I'm on the track by myself.
Yeah, sure.
Adjusting setups, trying different things. Just mostly getting used to the mod, whatever mod we were running at the time. And if I found a way to be a little bit faster setup-wise, that wasn't a big, huge change, take it, put it on the car, and then we'd send setups around to each other to give it a try. And that's the most time-consuming part, is making sure the setup works for everybody else at the same time, while still not sacrificing speed for everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
The thing is, we would get, you were allowed to run, especially at VEC, you were allowed to run the same car on the track at the same time during practice sessions. So we'd get 3 or 4 of us on the same team with the same car, obviously, and the same setups, and we'd go race each other. And then we would determine order. There was a lot of things that needed to go into, like, determine running order, how fast, if we could save tires with people behind us, in front of us. All that stuff would be set up right then and there with people that we trusted.
That was the driver swap for P7.
And then start practicing driver swaps, as we saw the car in 7th place take a driver swap. Sergio Sanchez is in.
Yep, taken over from Sol Sanchez. Also 4th place, Aidan Blake, who's actually he's ready to have a chat to us. Handed over to Lazarus Philip. I've been trying to say this in my head. Philippakis. Jembala Bassi is in from the lead.
Yep, I was just about to say that.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yep, so that hands the lead over to Philip Kras. I wonder if Jem is going to hand over to someone, because he's been there a while now. And oh, there's another driver swap that's gone on. I think Corne Borchers.
That's a new name.
Yes,
I haven't seen that race yet.
Don't know who he swapped with, I'm afraid. So yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Philip Kraus has actually taken over the lead, and this is why Phil was not pushing all that hard, so he could take over the lead. And even Ross Woodford is going to pass Jem Balagbasi for 2nd place now, just through. We had a spin. I think that was. Oh, that looks like. Is that Adam again? Yeah, Adam State had another spin. Man, he is just having a rough race.
He is not going his way, but I mean, the next guy that takes over the car might be much more comfortable with it.
Yeah, that is definitely.
And Jem did not do a driver swap. He's carrying on. My God, he's really. Has he been in there since the start?
No.
Okay.
No, but he's been in there for 2 hours, I believe. This is this will be his 3rd stint.
Yeah, he's been in there for a while.
As Lorenzo Arisi is in as well. Let's get Mr. Blake in here, see what he has to say, see what insight we can get from him. Hello, Mr. Blake.
Hello.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. How has your race gone so far?
It went fantastic. All the way from the back, all the way to P4. I was quite pleased with that. Obviously, I had a little incident on the starting lap, but managed to recover it and hopefully put on a show for you guys.
Awesome. Yep, you've handed over to Lazarus now. So how's the plan going? I kind of ask this every time we speak to a driver that's swapped out of the car. Kind of get an insight. Did you have a kind of plan of attack of this?
Well, we didn't. Sorry for interrupting.
No, carry on.
We didn't exactly plan for me to be in the car for 4.5 hours, but the tyres just went well. We started on softs, did 2 hours on softs, and then stuck another pair on just now. And ran for another 2.5 hours. So yeah, the car felt really nice, and I was just comfortable really. So we just let it go along. We've kind of got set stints, but we just vary depending.
A bit of wiggle room in there when you need to. Awesome. Did you have a kind of idea? You knew who you would be up against. Did you have a kind of rough idea where you would be? Are you on target with that, or you just kind of just taking it as it comes?
Way ahead of ourselves. I never thought I was going to be this fast compared to from my qualifying pace, obviously we started P11, so I didn't expect to be up to P4 4.5 hours in, but I know the track just came to me, and then I found myself in the first 20 minutes around pack of 5, and then there was P7, and then the places just kept coming to me. Like, we're definitely way further ahead than we thought we'd be, so it's going very well.
Happy days. Very, very nice. So, are you taking the car back over at a later time?
I am indeed, probably towards the early hours of the morning, coming into daylight. But yeah, so these two, Zetikes and Lazaros, will take the car from now, and hopefully they can take it through the night stint pretty well.
Great stuff.
Pick up where I left off, hopefully.
Any questions?
Do we want to switch to part 2?
Any questions your side, Ninja Rider?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. What a heck of a run there.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Just kind of truck up the field. Yeah.
Yeah. So
thank you very much.
yeah, rest well, and we'll look forward to see you back on track.
Thank you very much. Bye.
GT leader has had a driver swap as well. Is in the hands of Daniele Pisa, who unfortunately went off the road at the first chicane on the Mozan, so on the Hanarie. So yes, not been a great start for the GT leader, and both of the front runners of the LMP class, Philip Kraus has been in, and wow, that was quick. No new tyres on that car.
In the pit.
As is Ross Woodford from second. Where is Bollock Bassi? There he is, just going into the last few chicanes. So Philip Kraus has pitted and remained in the lead of the race then. And Woodford is still there, so I think there's new tyres going on his car. So
yeah, possible driver swap.
Could be.
It's taken a little while.
Yeah, Lasse Sorensen is also in for the GT field. Quite a few drivers waiting to take on cars. So yeah, that is a long time. Woodford is in there for. So the distance between Kraus and Bollock Bassi apparently is a minute. I'm not quite sure that's correct. So, oh, might be, looking at where those two are. And
Johnny Swaminen's already in the pits.
Yep, so in he comes from 5th position. I'm keeping an eye on Woodford to see if Yep, it's Jack Keithley that's taking that one on. So yep, good call there.
Good call indeed. Now I thought that Kraus might stay in for a little while, but it looks like he only took fuel.
Yeah, he was
which is
gone.
why Jim did not catch up at all. He just kind of came in. It's pretty crazy.
That was a driver swap.
Yeah, Jack Keithley did swap in. We also had a swap in GT, I believe it was.
Did we?
P12, yeah. Aris is out and Daniele Pizzo is in. That was for the lead of GT. So yeah, Daniele Pizzo is in the car now. He's just making his way through the Ford chicane as well as the last couple corners of this beautiful Circuit de la Sarthe
and
track.
Johnny Suominen has just come out right ahead of Fons. Oh, he's got to be careful when you're coming out of the pits. But out he comes without issue. As mentioned, he's right behind Fons. I can't quite see from that angle. That is... I still can't tell who was that's behind him. Kiro is who's right. Yeah, Danny Kiro is right behind Johnny Fons then as they come through, heading towards... Oh no! Oh, sorry, it was a just cut to David Santos there. As
for 18th overall.
As he was having a bit of a scruffy entrance into the pits. I thought he was having a spin, but he was just having a bad entrance into the pits, as we do have a battle position-wise for 18th overall. That is Jarek Yane against James Sarabia.
We have seen these two actually duke it out pretty much the whole race. It's been...
wow, there's a big old queue of cars behind him as well.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, no, and with LMP cars coming up on him, and I believe there was a couple of GT cars back there that I believe they just lapped. So, or they're about to be lapped. But Jarek Genet has been all over this group here. Is Jimmy Paul also behind him? I think that's how you say his name. Starts with a D. So
yeah, I would say Jimmy Paul as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's actually three-way battle for 18th place.
And then four-way. Actually, Isaac I see.
Oh
your
yeah,
Gill
yeah. Easy Gill's
right
not far
them,
behind.
too. They're just lurking right there in that. Isn't that beautiful? Is that gunmetal gray? Oh, get a little sideways, this Gill.
That's
very, very easy to do at the end of the Mulsanne there.
that's a different way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes you just got to drift it out.
Well,
Get a little crazy.
Yeah, looks like it's going to be a bit of a move. Oh, I did wonder whether Genet was going to put a move then on Sarabia, but not quite. He's certainly close enough to do it.
And it actually looks like Adam State, who's been sitting in 11th place overall and last place on the track in P2, will be battling Jerry Gisbrechts, who just goes off the track there.
Yeah.
Adam State making up a place after having a very hard time through all the ups and downs and turbulences. He's lost a couple of wings, he's lost a couple of noses, and he finally makes his way past for entrance into the top 10.
That's a lot of carbon fiber. That's a lot of bits that have been discarded on the track, unfortunately, for his team. That's the way it goes sometimes. You'll have to start nicking parts from other teams if it carries on. And look at this the four-way battle, as we said before, for 18th overall. Although Sarabia has actually got ahead of Genet and broken away a bit. So Genet, it's running a little bit wide on
Wow.
A lot of drifting going on, so they're mixing it up a little bit. Maybe they've sort of thought, let's just have a bit of fun whilst we're out here. Is Genet going to come in? Yeah.
No, Pitt, yeah. I was going to call tires. That does not look like that car is under control at all. He managed to get it around that last lap.
Yeah.
He must have been struggling with it for a couple of laps, but a big lockup on the way in, of course, and he will find his way through the pits. But now Gill, Paul, and Sarabia are left on the track. Gill has been kind of just hanging out. Not really going for anything crazy as of now, as he's sitting in the top 10, I believe, of GT. Yeah, Puzo is in 12th, so he's sitting 8th in GT. This is Gill, of course, and Paul right in front of him in the stock AOR livery. Kind of.
And not too far back from that.
No, he's not too far back, but he's just kind of.
Just holding station. Yeah, just holding station a bit, isn't he?
He's pushing, but he's not.
Yeah, he's just kind of maintaining the gap between himself and Jimmy Paul. Also, Francesco Morianti has just come through Teteru, so he's not too far off the back of that either.
It's really not. That is a beautiful car, by the way. If we can get a little bit of a close-up of that.
On whose ones?
Francesco Morante.
I'm on him.
And yeah,
look at that livery. Very flowing. I like me a good flowing livery.
Nothing wrong with that one on car 27. So there's a Yannick, of course. Yare, sorry. Yane. If I didn't mash up his names, I would have got that one right first time. Yarrick Yane is taking on tyres. Yeah, would rather saw the end of the life of that current set. So we are 77 laps into this 24-hour event. Philip Kraus took the lead from Jem Bulabasi in the pit stops, leads by 18 seconds, and that is a driver change for that GTE car. And it is now, I have to try and pronounce this, I'm going to give it a go. It is Pava Otto Rohi. That's what I'm going to go with.
I'd roll with it.
Taking that one on, so a bit of work to do.
Close enough, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's taking on that one. That's, what did we say there was? About 12th in class now, I think.
I believe so, yes.
I see. He comes out in 13th, yeah. So, Nicholas Herbst just coming through, Teteru. So, yeah, a bit of a gap between the two. But, yeah, a lot of GTEs on the same lap, I see. So, from Alvaro Baker in 13th down to Nicholas Herbst in 23rd. Okay, Rohi is actually a lap behind Herbst. So, yeah, so there's potential there for quite a lot of battling later on.
Definitely a lot of potential, and it's really going to come down to who can keep these tires under him when it comes to GT. I was just watching David Santos come through the first couple of corners, and he had a pretty decent low-speed spin. Looked like he kept his foot a little bit in it, so he shouldn't be flat-spotted too bad, but it's just straight up a loose setup, just causing a lot of problems for some of these drivers that you have to be really careful, very, very careful through these slow speed corners. And when you're going fast, you got the downforce of that rear wing on it, it's fine. But if you get on that gas just a little bit too hard, you're going around. And I think that's what a lot of these back markers are having a little bit of a problem with, as Tommy Italo comes into the pits. I'll never get his name right, even though I pronounce it all the time for AOR F1 for RF2.
Yeah, see, I was going with Litalo, so yeah. But
I should do a driver swap.
Yeah, we're thinking driver swap on this one. We're coming up on 5 hours into this race, so I believe he's been in there for 2.5 hours now, which will be his third set of tires.
Christian Lewis in as well, so near the back of the field.
And he does not. By the way, Italo does not change drivers.
Wow,
he's still in and he's coming out. And looks
wow, that was
like,
quick.
Yeah, he only took fuel.
It looks like I think Lewis might be doing the same thing. I love you're talking about liveries that work well for you. I love the look of that GTE Christian Lewis.
Big crash for Johnny Suominen.
Oh no.
Coming out of Tetra Rouge, he just ran wide and it threw him hard into that barrier.
Oh, out come the there with the mice with the lanterns again. But yeah, that's a lot of car missing for Johnny Suominen. We know that he took the car over fairly recently.
Oh man, that was big.
But that's
I thought he was gonna flip over the barrier.
Wow. But that again,
yeah,
that comes back to what we were saying earlier about riding the curves, and that's the danger. Is if you get that little bit too far wrong, it just unsettles the car, and well, voila. And it's with the Tetra Rouge being so fast, the accidents tend to be pretty heavy. Adam State in the pits as well from 11th, along with Nicholas Herbst, Jamie Pounder, and Christian Lewis still in, getting a pit stop. Yeah, coming back to what we were saying about attractive liveries, that one on car 38 has just actually swapped over to Simon Clausen. This is for 30th position. I love the look of this car.
That's 13th position, you said?
30th.
30th. Let's see.
3-0.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Just coming out of the pits now, Simon Clausen.
Oh yes. Ooh, that is good.
That very much reminds me. I mean, this is showing my age somewhat, but you used to have like Hot Wheels cars that change color when you put them in water, and that was the color range they would go through, that red to that dark purple.
They even have paint that does that now.
That's true. Jan Niklas Weiter, 24th, just coming out of the pits. That's a driver swap. I actually missed who he'd swapped with, but out he comes, middle of the GTE field. And now something else I was going to point out: Philip Kraus has absolutely floored it since he just did that quick fuel stop. He has been building that gap to Jem Bulakbasi. It was, it's been getting higher and higher and higher. Jem is either just taking his time and bedding the tyres in, or just simply, he's got a long gap behind him to Jack Keithley. But Philip Kraus seems to be really getting on it, because that gap has been building lap on lap on lap.
I'm kind of watching Jem. Doesn't look like he's having any real issues or anything. It's just kind of the way it goes. That high fuel load. I don't remember if he took tires, but Kraus has always been really good, especially in the F1 car, about keeping the tires underneath him. He can usually go fairly long, even in F1.
Yeah, Bulakbasi did take pits. Yes, he took the pits, took the entire pit lane and ran off with it. No, he took tyres in his last pit stop, so he dropped down to third. But then obviously the other two pitted around it, but Kraus only pitted for fuel, and he's been building that lead again with another couple of pit stops. Dominic Lambrecht has come in along with Angus Tong. So
the biggest problem, at least with the front runners, is that they are running such similar lap times. Even if Jem was able to run, a good second or so faster per lap than Kraus, all he has to do is basically make it to the end of his fuel run. And come into the pits, and everything will start to reset. And that's where the pit strategy just comes in to the fore, especially for anybody who's trying to make some time up on anyone. You can run as fast as you want for as long as you want, but a lot of times when you come into the pits, because you're going to come in earlier than the person that you're trying to chase down, if you're not able to keep the gas mileage going and save those tires, you're going to start losing a ton of time. So it is still early. We're coming up here on 5 hours into the race.
Yep. Angus Tong has had a driver change with Peter Jones. So one of the dragons from Dragon's Den. So this is what he does in his spare time. He does 24-hour racing. Why not? When he's not investing in businesses. And
easy.
Now, that's strange. Suominen has been through the pits. Yep.
He might have had a... Did he take a drive-through?
He can't have done... No, he... Wow, that was a very fast repair job then. I thought he'd be there a while. So maybe the damage wasn't as extensive as we thought it was from our perspective, but Suominen has come back out. He has, of course, lost a few positions and is in 7th now. Danny Kiro is in from 22nd as well. That's at least tyres for that particular car. Car number 48. We'll see.
And speaking of swaps, gotta love that transition. It looks like it is my turn to jump out of the commentary box and insert Mr. Feesey himself. How are you, sir?
I'm alright. Sorry for making you wait a bit. But finally,
okay.
I found my way back to the commentary box. It was quite crowded down there, so it took a while.
Yeah. Did you try the Grey Poupon?
The what exactly?
What?
That sounds French anyway.
Well, I mean, it is technically.
That makes sense. Why I'm trying.
Another driver swap then. Jesus Sanchez has taken over the 22nd position car, and Alvaro Baker is in. Yeah, it's been quite a lot to talk about, Fizzy.
Yeah, quickly before we go, Ninja, obviously you've been in the longest RUT. If you want to just quickly bring me up to date on anything major that might have happened.
We had a couple of accidents, but nothing too crazy as far as that goes. We've had a few disconnects. We're now down to 31 active cars on the track.
All right.
Other than that, we've had a couple of lead changes that were fairly predictable as far as pit strategy and things like that. But other than that, really, it's been a fairly quiet race. We've had a couple of races here and there, a couple of people going for some passes, and a few mistakes, but really nothing major happening yet.
All right.
Yet.
Yeah, yet.
Always a big emphasis on it yet. Well, I think
That's
Ninja
right.
Rider, I think it's fair to say you've earned a very well-deserved break.
I believe I am back in 6 hours.
I haven't got the.
Might be.
I haven't got the. I haven't got the schedule nearby, but
I'm double checking.
Ninja Rider, it has been a great pleasure to share the commentary box with you once again. It's been a long time since you and I have been in the box together. It has been a great honour and a pleasure to do so. Thank you, as always, for your incredible work over here, and of course, thanking again Miner for his great camera work. Stream side, it's been enjoyed by all of our spectators. We've had a driver change. It was also Borjan Bodanov, that's how I'm going to pronounce that one, has just taken second of the GT field over. Driver changed in for third in class, 14th overall, Sergio Dominguez. So there's battling going on, potential battling there. Isaac Gillison is in is coming to the pits, 5th position overall, and still Philip Kraus is continuing to extend that lead. Little by little at the front of the race. Sarabia is still... It's not too far away from that particular battle he was previously involved in. Yep, that car has changed into Hayden Rhodes. That's a bright lemon-coloured... Oh, it's very reminiscent of the lemon Lambo we used to talk about here, Fizzy, in 20th position. Hayden Rhodes has just taken that one on.
It's a shame it's an Aston Martin, but, you know, the colour will do.
How are you then, Mr. Fizz?
I'm alright, yeah. Obviously I did the first few hours, well, turned into, it was meant to be 2 hours, turned into a bit more, obviously, with the little niggles that we had to get through, but yeah, it's a nice summer's day, isn't it, you know, to enjoy some racing.
Yes, it's rather warm, certainly over here in the UK. What is it, Norway side?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's been clear and nice throughout the day. It's been a bit of clouds coming in now, though, so that's kind of nice. It's a bit cooler. So I'm not going to burn up too much in the box.
So Philip Kraus leads. Jem Bulabasi now closed in a little bit on the leader as he just makes his way past Peter Jones. And oh, is that a problem for the GT leader, Daniele Pizzo?
Let's have a look.
Oh,
He's
no.
running very close to that LMP when I went to him, anyway.
Yeah, he was just running very, very slowly coming through Tetra Rouge. I can't see any damage on the car, so maybe just made a mistake and was recovering from that. As on he goes, and just two other cars on the lead lap with Kraus, Jem Bulabasi, and Jack Keithley in third position. Keithley just coming to the end of the lap, right behind Clausen, unfortunately. But he's going to lose a little bit of time there, but nothing he can do. That he gets through. Lazarus, Philip, I said this badly earlier, and I'll try it again. Philippakas. That'll do. That's as close as I'm going to get. We spoke to Aidan Blakely, who handed that car over, and they were really happy with the performance of their car. They qualified 11th. They're currently up to 4th, so they are pretty happy with that and continue to make decent progress. Iker Estefania in 5th place, running their race. Sergio Sanchez handed over from Sarah Sanchez, so assumedly brothers.
You would imagine so. Yeah, obviously every driver in the cars at the moment are different pretty much to when I left the box previously, so I need to try and sort of figure out which drivers are for which teams now. I see, of course, that the leaders, the guy that were leading when I left the commentary box, their team seems to be out of the race.
Oh dear.
So that was let me quickly see who that was. That was the MSI Anbu Racing. It was Alexis Clapano that was leading the race for them. So yeah, something must have happened after I went out of the box there to in that they're now out of the race. Which is unfortunate, but yeah, it's what can happen.
Nature of the beast. Yeah, I had very similar when I was commentating on VEC's 24-hour event last week when I did the opening stint. You started to get an idea of who had decent pace in their respective cars, and when I returned for the morning stint on Saturday morning, everything had totally changed. I think the GTE leader had crashed out, and the LMP leader had gone from like 1st to 7th due to having a few incidents and then penalties and what have you. So easy to do.
Absolutely. Especially in a race like this, you actually have to be quite lucky to get through it without any sort of problems. For 24 hours, it's it's a bigger chance that you will face various issues throughout time that long than that you won't. So it's a case of who loses the less from whatever they face.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. I had a little bit of a moment of what did I just see, because I swear I saw Jem Bulabasi's name over a GT car for a second, but no, of course I didn't. That's just my brain completely playing. It was a Corne Borges' name I saw over. I saw C and B, and my brain just did an autocomplete in the completely wrong direction, and that was where that mistake was. So yeah, there's potential battling going on in the GT field. With where was it? It was JM Sarabia was fairly close to Jimmy Paul and Asia Gill, although that pack has spread out a bit. Although saying that, Jimmy Paul, Asia Gill, and Francesco Morente are pretty close together, so those three Astons could well cross swords before too long as well.
Yeah, that's 17th, 18th, and 19th overall in the race, which would make them, with now the lead GT, of course, running in 12th. That would be about 6th in the GT field that they would be battling for. So that's one to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, that is indeed the battle for 6th in class. It's difficult to know kind of who to look at, because the field is relatively spread out as far as positions are concerned, except that pack of 3 as mentioned. Hayden Rose, next one down the road, just coming through the first chicane.
Oh, no, there's been a pass actually. I think Adam State has just gone past, Jesus, that name, for someone, for 10th place. Joeri
Giesbrechts, Joeri Giesbrechts. Yeah, that was kind of what I went with as well. As Adam State has been having a horrific stint. Since I joined the box, we've seen him have to replace the nose of that car. Actually, the nose and the tail, I believe it was, of that particular car. Twice, was it?
Wow.
So yeah,
I believe the nose has been twice, the rear has been once.
Oh, so one tail and 2 noses on that car. So yeah, Adam State has had a pretty hard run in that car, but as we've seen before, somebody else could take over that car and become an absolute god and blitz the field. Seen it before. So 4 laps is not insurmountable in endurance races, especially not this early in the actual proceedings. There is Jerry Giesebrechts right with him, so that battle is not really concluded.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Even though they're both 4 laps down, fighting for the bottom 2 positions that are remaining in the LMP field, it's in a race like this, it's kind of fun just to be close to someone and just feel like you have some purpose to keep going. And with these guys being close together, they have that. So I'm quite sure that I'd be sort of pleased that they at least have someone else who have had as much struggles as they have so far in the race.
We got to think. I think it's 3 of the retirements are LMPs. So,
Spin. Contact on the wall.
Who has spun? Oh, it's Lambrecht. He's out. He's out.
Oh,
Lambrecht is out from 9th. His car is already back in the pits. Their teams, that is over. Oh dear, that must have been pretty catastrophic then.
Oh my, that's quite.
That is a perfect example of commentator's curse. I was literally just saying that 3 of the retirements were LMPs, and bang, we just had a 4th one put in there. No sooner did those words leave my lips. God damn it, me.
Don't need more DNFs. Okay, just stop it.
Sorry.
Don't mention DNFs at all.
So yeah, that is
the 10th one then. Sorry, no, 12th one, I guess. I think we started with 43. At least on the first couple of attempts of getting going. Seems like it was 41 at the start of this particular session. But cars dropping out of the race, as you'd expect throughout a race like this. But of course, it's heartbreaking for whoever it happens to.
Yeah, of course. And you've got to think they've spent months preparing for this. And for it to end like that is never good. Philip Kraus continues to extend his lead nearly 30 seconds now. So that's interesting. Now, in the last pit stops, Kraus took on fuel only. And Jem actually took on tyres, but it doesn't seem to have done him any favours at all.
Oh, potential battle. Jimmy Paul and Francesco Morante battling for that 17th place overall in that GT. Also getting lapped by LMP at the same time. Jimmy Paul nearly turning into Adam State there. That was very, very close, but State was wise enough to keep his nose just far enough behind to not have it cut off by the GT.
AC Gill
looked like it was getting very close between those guys suddenly.
Just a tad, yeah. Yeah, AC Gill was actually in that battle. He's come in. That's a driver change. Javier Caceres has taken that one over now, 21st.
I think he was in the car when I at the start of the race.
And
he's back in then.
He's returned. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine you'll probably start seeing drivers you saw at the beginning start to return to the car.
Yeah. Obviously, most teams have 3 or more drivers, so you'd expect sort of, well, the normal way to do it, I would think, is to have first one driver driving, then the second driver, then the third driver, and then so on, if they got 5. But you never know. They might have different schedules. Maybe there's teams with drivers from different continents, even just to sort of make it easier to run through the night. It could be a thing as well.
Yeah, funny enough, Ninja Rider made that very same point. That's the kind of ideal way of doing it, where you have, the Europe, depending on, generally Le Mans, being of course based in France, will start at a European friendly time. So you would have your European drivers start the race, and then as night falls in the EU, you then have maybe your American, or depending on what drivers you have, maybe your Oceania drivers then take over. and then as that swap from back round again. That's the ideal, but of course it comes down to what do you have available to you.
Yeah, it really does. And I would think most teams probably, there's a different kind of team line up throughout the field there. Really, you've got some teams that are proper established sim racing teams. Probably have drivers from all around the world, but then you might have teams where just set up from a group of friends who might be based in the same country even. So
yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the easier way to do it. But who's spun out? Who's spun out?
Right in front of Cat. You're right in front of Jack Keithley.
Someone spun out who was right in front of our third place man, but don't know who. Obviously, crikey! Looking at Lazarus Philippa. Yeah, Philippakis has just caught right to the back of a big old gaggle of cars.
And they pit.
And the two GTEs did, so that made his day a lot easier. And Giesebrecht chose to continue. Sarabia has also pitted, so that's 3 NLPs that have pitted in very, very short succession. So yeah, Sarabia, Paul, and Moranti all coming in, and no tyres on Sarabia's car. And Jimmy Paul actually going around Sarabia.
Interesting angle he's got in his pit box there, but he seems to have been lifted up, so it's worked out right. Yeah, he went on the inside, into the garage to get past Sarabia. Yeah, so
Sarabia is the only one not taking tyres. Moranti and Paul both are on the jacks, so Sarabia should be going as rolling backwards.
Well, Sarabia is now going backwards, so he's trying to do something. Maybe he's engaged the clutch accidentally, or he's not parked it properly in the pit lane. But,
not sure what's going on with his
interview.
We have Dominic Lambrechts in the interview box. We'll grab him over shortly. And yeah, there was a problem on Sarabia's car. He's continuing to roll backwards, and it is
that doesn't seem quite how we want that pit stop to go. Jimmy Paul and Morant is still stationary as well, so all these guys spending a lot of time in the pits at the moment.
Yeah, I wonder whether Sarabia had
19 and 20.
Yeah, I wonder if Sarabia had damage because there was no tyre change going on, and Moranti's actually first out, so he has jumped the pair of them.
Jimmy Paul has lost out then. It was Morante versus Paul on track, very close together, and Morante is leaving easily ahead of Jimmy Paul. Whether it's damage repairs for Paul, no, there's actually driver change. That's why it's taking extra time. It's a driver change there. Thomas Lachèvre jumping into that car.
And still nothing going on with Sarabia's car, so there is a definite problem there.
Are you guys ready for the interview?
Let's grab over Dominic Lambrechts, that is waiting in the wings to have a word with us. He's very, I'll give him his due. At least he's happy to speak to us whilst after that crash. And there he is, Mr. Lambrechts.
Hello.
Not the circumstance we would like to speak to our drivers, but at least you've graced us the time after an incident. What happened?
Oh, well, I mean, basically I was just going into Indianapolis, sort of braking, misjudged ever so slightly, and just swung round, but there was a glitch with the game. I went through a wall, like a tyre barrier wall, and just sort of was in the ether for a few minutes, and then it just kind of plopped me in the garage, and I couldn't drive away. So that was game over.
Oh, well, a great shame. How was the race going for your team up to that point?
I mean, it was going great, you know, because we were qualified at the back of the grid, so we had a lot of work to do. We were up to, we think we were in a net 8th place, and we had some great battles. I had a great battle with Tommy Yatalo on my second stint, and it was going great, but you know, can't always work out your way.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a shame when a race ends in that manner, but yeah. Anything to add there, Fizzy? And I didn't unfortunately see the particular incident itself, but yeah, it's a shame when running so well for it to end like that.
Yeah, I didn't actually see it live either, but yeah, it's always heartbreaking, really, to have a race like this ended prematurely. I've done my fair share of 24-hour races in iRacing, and although I don't think I've been part of actually retiring fully from the race. You always manage to pull through, but you know, you have big issues that set you back and sort of take away all the work that you have done. So it's I know the feeling, and I can only sort of feel that with you, Lambert. It's a shame.
Well, thanks, Fizzy.
Thanks for taking the time to speak to us. We do appreciate, obviously in these circumstances, it's even harder to kind of talk about it after all the time in preparation you guys must have put in. So thanks again for coming to talk to us, and we hope next time it more pans out your way.
No problem, boys. Have a good commentary.
Certainly will.
Cheers,
Thank you very
mate.
much. Sarabia is out. So whatever happened in the pits, Sarabia is in the garage. It has so another. So me mentioning DNFs has caused another one to fail.
Oh god, you just mentioned it again.
Ah!
Who's next? Who's next? Just waiting for the next DNF to pop up here. But yeah, that was a race F1 racing team that Sarabia was driving for, running in around 5th in class, I believe, in the GTEs. So that's a shame for them as well. Lambrecht driving for Thrive Esports. And doing quite well as well, considering they started, as you mentioned, from the back of the field. So, yeah, gutting for those teams. And they joined the list then. I think that's 13 teams in total who have ended up as a DNF in this race. We have 29 cars remaining on the track.
Indeed we do. Philip Kraus still leading the way now by 33.2 seconds over Jem Bulabasi, so he's still continuing to extend that lead, and those tyres have done quite a few laps now. He's just catching Sanchez and Rohi right in the middle of the Corvette curves. But yeah, I mean, you can do that. The LMPs, you've got more faith in your car to do that. You wouldn't dare try. Well, you could do it in a GTE car. The track is certainly wide enough, but you have got to really have the cojones to really do that in a GT car. So very nice move. Kraus has been on the move since that last pit stop. He has been absolutely on it, lap on lap on lap. And in the last few laps, he's really built that gap up quite quickly, and he did not want to be stuck behind those GT cars any longer than he had been.
Yeah, definitely. It's, I can see just from the, this top 3 best laps on the server since yesterday or something. It's Kraus that has that best time. He's the only man who's been in the 329s with a 329.9 there so far in this race. Jem Bulabasi running close behind. His fastest lap is a 10th slower. Then Kieran Chadwick in Bulabasi's team is a further 10th behind that. So yeah, Kraus is the man to beat in terms of pace so far in this race.
Amazing stuff indeed. Our GT leader, Daniele Pizzo. I keep wanting to say pizza because the O's look like A's on my screen. So,
pizza!
Yay!
Find some pizza right now.
That's actually what I had for dinner before coming into the box. So it's all good. Yeah, trust me to think about food. Yes, I know. I'll make that link for everybody. Continues to lead the way as he is coming down towards. That's down to Indianapolis. Bojan Badanov just crossing the line to start lap 77, so that's quite a distance between the two lead GTs. Sergio Dominguez is not that far behind Badanov though. So
what has happened to the team of the Danes? There were a couple of, there was a Danish driver that was running in the lead or second, one of the two.
Badanov!
You're in the wall.
Oh no, that's damage to the front of the second place GTE car, Badanov.
Oh man.
Yeah, if we
switched to him right before you ran into the wall.
I just overcooked it, coming into the Dunlop curves, and has had an argument with the wall, and is missing that radiator grill.
Yeah, I'm just watching that instant back now on the broadcast, and that looked like a humongous hit there. He's lost his front bumper, I think.
He has indeed, and that's gonna be a lap or so in the pits. But then we've seen repairs done in miraculous time for other people, so he may not lose that much. But yeah, that was. We saw, as I cut to him, he was actually bringing a bit of the wall with him back on track, so that must have been a hell of a whack. As Jack Keithley comes up behind him, he is currently in third, last man on the lead lap, so still running pretty well then, along with Lawrenson. Alfie Lawrenson is, of course, close in on Badanov. There's Hayden Rhodes is, where is he? He's at the end of the Dunlop curve, so he's actually way behind. So that's going to be an easy position for Lawrenson.
Yeah, let's just hope Bogdanov can bring that back to the pits and get that sorted. They're obviously going to lose a lot of time, especially if it was a while until the next pit stop anyway. I'm not quite sure how their strategy is at the moment, but yeah, last we want is another car out of the race.
Yeah, Badanov's been in there a while, so again, they have the option, I suppose, of shuffling, bringing a driver change forward if they so feel the need to. Kind of depends on, of course, what their strategy was, and we don't know what that is. So,
that seems to be the Danish car, actually. Just saw a Danish flag back on the back of Alfie Lawrenson's car, so that is them running in P4 then, potentially P3 very shortly indeed, because of Cognos damage.
Oh yeah, so it is.
Yeah, they were in the top 2, very close with Daniela Pizzo's team in the first hour or 2.
Remembering Alan on the back of their car. So in commemoration, fair play to them, running pretty well. It's going to be picking up that 3rd in class from Bodanov then fairly soon. It's not costing Bodanov all that much time in comparison to how much it could be, but
no, maybe he might even not pit. No, he's let him through that through Indianapolis. Lawrenson getting a little bit out of shape on that curve, but making that move.
Yeah, he probably was. I would imagine he wasn't expecting Bodanov to kind of jump out of the way like that. But but again, I would highly anticipate Bodanov couldn't maintain the apex speed he would have needed to defend it, and therefore didn't try. So again, you can't really blame him for that.
Yeah, maybe just taking it a bit more cautiously. Obviously, with that damage he knows he has, maybe didn't quite have the confidence in the car. Obviously, Indianapolis is one of those really tricky corners where you really have to have confidence. You have to have a stable car to be able to throw it through there at good speed. So
yeah, completely.
He's not quite sure maybe how the car will behave with that missing front bumper at the moment.
Here he comes, and this is where it's going to hurt the most. He's coming through the Porsche and Corvette curves. You can see how much he's just so much slower through those, and cautiously so, and quite rightly. You can see that's Pounder in the background, Jamie Pounder. He's of course going to. Not on the same lap, but you can see the difference, how much the red Aston's able to close in. And this will be Bodanov coming in, unless he's really brave. No, of course, he does bring that one in. And I wouldn't be at all surprised. We've seen a few people kind of struggle to take the pit entry right, but he did that one okay. And Jure Kiesebrechts also comes in.
Yeah, he... I thought he had a recent pit stop because he was obviously close to Adam State before.
And he was.
We spoke about him, and then suddenly he was quite far away from him, and now he's gone into the pits again. So there is clearly some kind of problems.
Tyre change as well. Team. Yeah, tyre change as well for Kiesebrechts. So wasn't sure. Did Bodanov's car get jacked up?
Not yet, I believe.
No. So just fuel and repairs for Bojan Bodanov. I apologise if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but that's what I'm running with.
So we have some kind of ACR invasion going on in the YouTube chat with Timp and Nobody going on. They're obviously driving for different teams actually in this race, of course. Tino Naikarainen, being Timp, drove the first part of the race for what I believe is an all-Finnish lineup in the PLF1 team, whereas Nobody, aka Ross Woodford, of course, running for ACR Saxpeed in this race.
Yeah, we saw Ross.
We actually have Jack Knife. I just noticed Jack Kitley is back in the car. He's the one who started the race for ACR and was running in the lead for quite a bit of the race. So he's another fast guy who's back out on track.
Yeah, we saw Ross running pretty well up there in 3rd position, as you say, handed over to Jack Keithley. Earlier on, Peter Hayward, that's a driver change as well. That's Giesebrechts, so that's a name we don't have to fight with anymore. Has handed over to Peter Hayward. Out he comes then to see how he can fare, see if he's able to close in at all on Adam State. Adams, we previously mentioned, was having a lot of trouble in his car earlier on. Oh, that's Marsa Breen, I think. Oh, he's gone very deep. Whether he was trying to get out of people's way or... I'm not entirely sure what happened there. He's out of fuel.
Oh, no.
He is out of fuel. His engine has stopped. And that is that Corvette. That is that Aston's day done. I'm assuming.
Oh, that is. I wonder. So, is it possible to? No, I don't think.
No, that's a retirement.
He's going to have to retire if he can't roll that car back to the pit.
He's not going to be able to.
Pace is going right now.
He's not going to be able to roll that from a Nars right the way through to.
I mean, it was a massive downhill all the way, but it definitely isn't.
No, definitely not. So that is Marsa Breen's day done. Didn't see that driver change happen. That is.
If only they had the sister team in the race, I could sort of push them
along. Yeah, yeah. Maybe you'll do a heroic Hamilton jump out and push the thing home. But even from there, that's a little bit beyond reasonable. So what a shame! What a great shame!
That's such a annoying mistake to make as well. Sort of just forget to. I've been there a couple of times actually myself in the past. Just forget to look at the fuel indicator, and suddenly, oh damn! I realize you're not going to make it around the next lap, and that is him back to the garage and out of this race. Unfortunately, as
it was actually deemed as an engine failure, so no, it wasn't fuel. It was actually an engine blown.
Oh no, we have a. Oh no,
Alfie Lawrenson
from P3. We saw him just take P3 from Bogdanov earlier on. I saw some flames there at the back of his car.
And
he's
engine blown.
Yeah, that is a lot of smoke coming from his car. That's another one. 2 engine failures. Damn it.
Oh no.
Oh goodness me, what a great shame. He was it wasn't too far from home either by the look of where he stopped. That's just before Indianapolis indeed, so that seems to be a bit of a danger zone for engines at the moment. Juan Puya is come in. Oh, bit of a lag moment for him in the pits there.
Man, am I bringing bad luck into this race now? Because I feel like there's been a lot of retirement since I came back to the commentary box.
It's all
not what we want to see.
It's all you.
Yep, I do. Sincerely apologise.
Well, what a great shame for our competitors.
Alfie refusing to get his car back to the garage. He's not accepting this DNF. It's going to be hard for him to take this. And of course for the Danes that were running so well earlier on in the race.
Yeah, and I'm just keeping an eye on Juan Puya as well. So he's 28th and the penultimate car in class as well. Is he going to have a change? There's quite a few drivers lingering in the sidelines to jump in. So we don't spot every driver change that happens. We do try and keep up with them, but it's kind of impossible for it to catch all of them. Johnny Fons comes in as well. And that lovely dark purple Aston, and it is indeed a driver change. Eric J. Torres has taken over that very, very busily coloured Aston, and out he comes then, 28th. And Johnny Fons is having new tyres on his car. And
it's a good looking car, that.
Hmm?
It's a good looking car, that, for Torres, I have to say. Nice little livery they got going on.
We have got Darrell Russell in the ready for interview box. We'll be having a word with him shortly. And there it is, an Alfie Russell's car. Alfie Russell? Try that again. Alfie Lawrence's car finally returned to the pits. Look at the 2 engine blows in the same lap. That's pretty, or within a lap of one another. That is pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah, there's a lot of sadness going on my return to the box at the moment.
Yes.
So 27 cars then remaining in the race, I believe.
Yep, 27 cars, and Lazarus Philippakas comes in as well from 4th. They hadn't counted their chances on being that high up. They were having a good old time then, from when it was Aidan Blake that had that one.
Let me know when you're ready for me to move, Daryl.
For anyone who wasn't here at the start of the race, because Blake was at the back of the whole field, including the GT cars, after the first formation, after the safety car period happened right at the start of the race, because he was the one who decided to do a pit stop during the safety car. So he had to overtake all the GTs and then get back to the field. As we have a spinner, Adam State has spun it from 9th position.
Oh, Adam again. And that's again, is that a Tetra Rouge again? Yeah, it is. That's where he's just coming through now.
Passing him now, tried to hit the curb and spun.
Oh, goodness me. So he was trying to mind his own business, and he has had terrible trouble all race long there. Oh, goodness me. Let's have a word then. Oh, no. Unfortunately, we've lost the two people that were waiting to come and have a word with us. Unfortunately, we were trying to catch up with everything. And, oh, big problem then. We just had an impact. That was, who was it that was just had a problem there? Trying to find... I saw the impact, but didn't see the name.
Suominen, maybe? It seemed like he was going slow off a corner there. And I was just seeing that wrong.
Where are we? I saw the impact, but didn't see who the name was. One of the LMPs has caught the back of one of the GTEs coming into the first chicane on the Hanadier.
It might have possibly been Joni Suominen. Not 100% sure on that, but I thought when I just skipped onto him, he was going relatively slow out of the first chicane.
Could have been, but unfortunately I didn't catch who it was. That if it was, let's have a look at the front of his car if I can. You don't see any obvious damage to the front of that car.
Tim's saying that it is them, and that would be Suominen, that is Tim's teammate, or one of Tim's teammates.
Not good.
He's running 7th at the moment, and so we have to wait and see if that impact has a effect on his race.
Jembo Labassi from 2nd is in again, along with 5th place Sergio Sanchez. Now, I'm a little surprised that Bolabassi's come in before Kraus, because it was... Oh, no, beg your pardon. No, Bolabassi came in from the lead last time, so no, Bolabassi was in before Kraus last time, so I had that the wrong way around. And, 47 seconds at the point that Bolabassi came in, so and that was how much lead Kraus had built up for himself.
Yeah, that could be the case. Of course, Bolabassi, to build a lead over him, you need something special, because he is... an absolute top driver as well, as we know. And but to see whether there will be a driver change. Doesn't seem like it at the moment.
Well, he's been in there a long time, so I would highly expect that 2nd place car to be handed over. And it is indeed. Craig Baxter has taken over the 2nd place car 44, and Jack Keithley's now gone through to 2nd.
And actually, Sergio Sanchez has left the pits before Craig Baxter there, but he's obviously a couple laps down. But he's also gained time from just not swapping drivers there. So he has unlapped himself a time from the second. Yep. Oh, now 3rd place, guys. I have to say, Sergio Sanchez's orange and black car is beautiful. Really liking that.
That is a good-looking car. I'm keeping an eye on race leader Philip Kraus to see if he comes in this time or not. Because I would think surely that he didn't take tyres in the last stop, so I would think those tyres are feeling pretty second-hand by now. Let's have a quick look at his lap times. His 3:29.914 lap was on lap 75. That was quite some time ago. Although he has been keeping fairly consistent, a few seconds in it. Even last lap was less than a second off of that personal best, so he's not losing masses of time, so to speak. So he might not come in, but I would think he's got to come in soon. Those tyres can't hold on much longer.
Yeah, and it's a question of... I think it's mainly a question in terms of the stints of the fuel. I think drivers are usually able to manage the tyres relatively well for a few stints, and just take it a bit easier if they feel like they need to keep them going. But obviously, if the fuel runs dry, there's nothing you can do but to go into the pit lane.
Well, you as an experienced driver, Fizz, there must, and indeed, Philip Kraus does come into the pits this time around, so it's going to be interesting to see where he filters out against those he was previously fighting with. How much time can you realistically get if you? Sorry, how much fuel can you realistically save? Yeah, there must come a point where like this is never going to make it.
In terms of the tires, you mean?
In terms of fuel, so you realise you're
fuel.
burning. You realise you're negative on fuel, so to speak, to put it in Formula 1 terms. How much can you realistically pull back? So half a lap or so, or?
It's hard to say, really. Obviously, these cars have different engine settings that will help you save fuel if you need to, or push harder if you need to. But of course, the harder you push on the engine setting, the more fuel it will use. So it's yes, it's really a case of whether the teams want to go for less pit stops in the race, because I think that's the main reason you would try to run a lower setting and slow yourself down, is to, you know, do a less amount of pit stops by the end of the race, because that's you know, you gain a bit of time from just having to not drive through the pits and stop a couple of extra times. But yeah, you're losing time on tracks. It's really hard to say what is most beneficial, really.
We have got Jem Bullock-Bassey ready to talk to us, so definitely grab him over. And there he is, Jem Bullock-Bassey with us.
Hello.
Hello.
What a great run for you. I mean, you were in the car a good long time. You must be pretty tired by now.
Yeah, I think that was like 4 stints in a row.
Wow.
It took just over 4 hours, I think, and I really feel like I'm glued to my seat and I can't stand up, guys.
I'm not surprised. So Craig Baxter took your car over as the lead car has just been handed over to Max Shepard. Jack Keithley's just brought his car in again. So Craig is going to take that second position. How's the plan running so far? So how are your team doing against the plan? You were running in the lead for a long time, and what is now Max Shepard's car kind of took that one in the last pit stop. How's the plan running so far?
I think it's going pretty good and better than expected, because there was some issues at the start with the formation lap and stuff, so we kind of lost a lot of positions, but the pace was good. I mean, Kieran did a great job bringing the car home pretty much, and then I tried to push for pretty much 4 stints in a row, see where we could go, and I think we should be in net second position, and depending on the strategy, we should be challenging first place. We just need to see when. Did they change the mech actually? Because I didn't see it yet.
Yeah, Max Shepard's in the car now.
Oh, I don't know the gap, but I think we should be close-ish, and there's still like over 18 hours to go. So I think so far it's been going okay, but thinking that there's 18 hours more to go is pretty, that's ridiculous. This is my first 24-hour race as well. So.
Oh wow, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And to do 4.
It's definitely a special experience from having done a few myself. It's it's really, you know, compared to any other normal race at a sort of an hour long or whatever you normally race, it's completely different.
Yeah, it is, and I think traffic is a big part of it. Luckily, from other games, I have some traffic experience, but like I don't do 24 hours all the time, so I can't say I'm like the most experienced guy on this thing. But it was pretty fun. I mean, the time definitely goes by faster when you're driving compared to watching, because you're just like concentrated all the time, see what the GT cars ahead are doing. I feel like I've been like sitting for only maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour, not like 5 hours.
Yeah.
I think I have 3 more stints to go tomorrow, and then I'll give it to Kieran to finish the race, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the plans are a bit like broken right now because of the time schedule.
Sure. You've got 29 seconds between your car and the leader, so it's not gone too badly whatsoever. And we see your name crop up quite a number of times in various racing categories. How does the preparation differ? It, of course, endurance racing, of course, the preparation for it is completely different to the likes of Formula 1 or GT. How have you approached your training for this?
I actually decided to race in this race quite late. I think it was like 5 days ago. So I had to practice a lot during the day.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it was 5 days ago, and then I was probably practicing like 3-4 hours a day to catch up, because I didn't do any F1 before this either, since pretty much qualifying for the pro draft. So I need to warm up, And it took me a while, but I think we put some good practice laps in. But luckily, like Craig, Sam, they're all up, so we practiced together in the practice sessions. They helped me a lot. It's much more fun to just practice with your teammates and the people you race with compared to practicing alone. But yeah, like you said, the preparation is quite a bit different here compared to, any other race, because you just have to do stints and stints to see how the tires react, and when you double stint tires, and then see how the traffic is. So I would basically join at the busiest times of the server, so I could practice the traffic the most, which probably did help. And then to get some experience with traffic, especially this track, I've actually never done a lap at this track before this race, so it was quite a new experience. I always knew the track, but it just didn't have a race to race in. So I think the preparation was quite well. Luckily, everyone was preparing way before me, so I had a good baseline and all that people to work with as soon as I said I'm racing. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you couldn't have really made this that much more difficult for yourself. So you only jumped in the car a few days ago without having raced a lap in anger here. That really is quite amazing.
I did I've been doing this for like 4 years now, over 4 years. So, and I have experience in rFactor too. So I think I needed to get warmed up, because I did FSR back in the days, like 2-3 years ago. So it's not like it's my first time driving this game. It's just been a while, and when I just need to get into the grips.
Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. Any questions your side, Fizz?
Not really. It's just a case of, a little bit surprised that you have done so, come in this late and being that good. But then again, I'm not really surprised knowing you and how well you do in various racing series. So yeah, it's it's cool to have you part of the race, and it'll be interesting. It's a big battle now, really. From the top 3 teams, I guess you can say.
I would say. Yeah, because I think ACR is up there with us, and definitely Vulcan is up there, and we should be separated by I don't know, maybe maximum a minute. So I think it's going to be. Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay, so it should go probably pretty close until the end of the race, because everyone's pretty evenly matched. It just depends on who doesn't crash in the next 18 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't take risks.
Going to be the boss.
Well, thank you very much, Jem, for taking the time to talk to us. We hope you rest well, and we look forward to seeing you back in the car. And of course, well done on the pro draft, of course. Looking forward wishing you well there, and we look forward to seeing you back on track.
Thank you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, I guess. Bye bye. See you, man.
Yeah, whilst Jem was talking to us, that gap's down to 26 seconds. It's decreased by 3 seconds. So Craig is really not hanging around.
Yeah, Craig is pushing hard at the moment. He is, we know he is a very fast guy on this game as well. So actually, I'm seeing from the best lap times, Max Shepard has done a 3:29.9 as well, the leader at the moment, of course. So that was his previous time. So he's also at a really high pace. Same with Craig Baxter. See Keith Lee, he came out of the pits, I think, last lap that is recorded on this at the moment. That's actually a battle for 18th overall in the race. Jesus Sanchez and Thomas Lachèvre battling there in the GTs.
Absolutely. We had a driver change for 7th position over to Alexei Fagerstrom. Another one in there, but Sanchez having to keep Lachèvre behind him.
I think he actually made the overtake going into that previous chicane. So he's taken over that 18th position, which is 8th in class. It's a bit easier now, actually, that the lead GT is 11th overall, because then you can just take 10 away from the number.
And speaking of which,
speaking of the lead GT, he's in the pits.
He's there. Daniele Pisa is come in. What's he going to do? Is he going to have tyres on the Aston? That's a long way down the pit lane he's having to go. That's a hell of a long way. And that's indeed the final box. And no, just fuel on that car. So he won't be in there long. Where's Dominguez? Dominguez is miles away. So, and indeed, Dominguez is nearly a full lap down. So that lead is safe in Pisa's hand for the time being. Goodness me, Baxter. That gap. Oh no! Who was that facing the wrong way? One of the as Sanchez has just come in, it was Peter Hayward. Peter Hayward is missing very much a lot of the front of the car and was facing the wrong way at
oh my goodness, that's
huge damage.
Very deformed car there.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at Craig Baxter because that gap was down to 24 seconds, but he had to take avoiding action around Peter Hayward's car. And yeah, that's yeah, there's the magically floating front lights again. But yeah, that's going to be a long time in the pits for Peter Hayward, I would imagine.
So let's see, he's not been in the race for too long, has he? Because it was Geiserbrecht that's right. Changed over not too long ago. Yep,
that is indeed correct.
It's an unfortunate thing for Hayward to have to deal with on his first stint in this race. And wow, yeah, he's missing his whole front end there, so he's just going to have to nurse that back to the pits and take whatever time he needs to get that repaired.
Sergio Sanchez from 6th position has done his split up. Yeah, that cost Craig Baxter only about 2.5 seconds. That actually didn't cost anywhere near as much as I thought it would. Because yeah, I mean, Craig Baxter had to come to a near stop to avoid Peter Hayward's car. Peter Hayward's car was facing the wrong way on the S's, I think it was. Yeah, the S's just comes before Tetraroo, so yeah, it was at that point. And that's allowed Jack Keithley to gain a little bit of time as well. He's now under a minute behind, which again sounds like a lot, but in endurance terms, after 93 laps, to still be less than a minute behind the leader is nothing to scoff at all.
Yeah, certainly. It's not a big gap when you're in a race like this, really.
Nope.
Oh, we have a pitter. Tommy Ilisalo from 8th in the LMP field.
Oh, that's how you say it. Yep, so from the penultimate, oh no, bigger one, not quite. So yeah, 8th position overall. Coming in for assumedly a scheduled stop, just 27 cars remaining from the starting. Was it 43? Did you say it was that we had at the beginning?
Yeah, it was 43 that was meant to take part, and yeah, we lost a few earlier. Very early on in the race, but then I think there was a period where we didn't really lose a lot of cars, but then recently several issues have fallen upon several teams, unfortunately, and we are down to 27.
And already Craig is started to close that gap back down again. So once more he's back on the loud pedal. Oh no, he was looking to try and get round Jamie Pounder's red Aston, but he opted to do the safer option and stay behind him. It's all such an awkward place to catch someone in those last few chicanes. There's not enough track to get past anybody. So, but he has taken the safer option. Cost him a little bit of time, but of course, again, 27 seconds, it's really not that much when you've still got so many hours to go. And Tommy Ilitalo still in the pits. Is that going to be a driver chase? It is indeed. That is over to Callum Roberts. And Adam State also brings that car in. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Adam hands that car over, as Peter Hayward has managed to limp his car back. So the tail 3 of the P1s are in, or the Callum Roberts is just beginning to roll that car out now. I would imagine Adam State's probably going to hand that car over because he's been in there a long time.
Could well be, yes. Just trying to... and we actually have someone in the ready for interview box again for Scythian. I'm not quite sure what his race name, or actually, well, real name is.
No,
in the server.
I am the exact same.
I know he's in the race, but I'm not quite sure who he's driving for. Guess we can bring him in and ask him.
Oh, come on then, let's bring him over. Hello, Forsythian.
Hello.
We're trying to figure out which one you are.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a GTE driver for the Infinity Racing team, which just DNF'd.
Oh,
really?
No. Oh, was it Alfie Lawrenson's car that was that?
I think was it Lambrecht's car?
No, no, we just I had my driver swap, so I was in the car for like 6 corners, and then exit
really?
of Indianapolis, the engine blew. So can't really say it was a bad or good experience.
So if it wasn't Lawrenson, it was then Breen.
Oh, yeah.
I think just too much engine wear or something like that.
Oh dear.
Yeah, we did see a car sitting there, and we thought you'd run out of fuel, but
Yeah.
it was an engine problem.
No, yeah, we just did it, but just overall too much engine wear, I think, and maybe too low gear. I don't know anymore. I don't know yet.
Was it something you were sort of having to? Were you keeping an eye on that to try and manage it as the race went on, or did that catch you a bit by surprise?
It actually caught us by surprise because well, I didn't really think about it when starting my stint, so I just left, and after 6 corners it was done.
Oh,
Wow.
A few at least.
That's horrendous luck, really. It's, is there any sort of indication when you're in the car that the engine is running bad, or is it just, all of a
I
sudden it
felt
happens?
like we were way slower on the straights, but yeah, didn't really think too much of it. Just thought we were fine because, well, only six we did only 6 hours. So
yeah,
I hope
absolutely.
we were fine for that.
Yeah.
A great shame.
Yep, it was. Especially feel bad for Jezza because he didn't even drive yet.
No. I mean, where were you kind of? What was your target? What was the? What was the? Where did you place yourself pace-wise for against your fellow GTEs?
Oh well, we didn't really go for a high achievement. We just wanted to finish the race and beat a concurrent. Don't really know team name right now on top of my head, but we had one guy that we wanted to beat, but unfortunately we don't.
Yeah, that's the thing. You kind of in a race like this, you end up seeing where you are on track, and then try to beat whoever you can. But
Yep.
yeah, it's annoying, really. I feel for you having an engine put to stop to it like that, because that's the problem when you're driving in a simulation where everything has to be so realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us. It's never nice when something like this has happened, especially after all the time that you guys must have put in to prepare for this event. So we do appreciate you coming to spend time with us, and hopefully better luck next time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for spending the time with us.
See you, mate.
See ya.
Max Shepard has been off the pace for a while. He's losing time against both Craig Baxter and Jack Keithley. Well, we assume he's losing pace against everybody, but of course they're the only two on the same lap as Max, so they're the only ones I've got actual time gaps for. But those two gaps for Keithley and Baxter have been coming down to Max Shepard, so either he's got a problem or he's just simply not on the pace at the moment.
Yeah, it's surprising, really. As I mentioned, he is he became only the second driver to get into the 3:29 according to the live timing, anyway.
The last few laps have been 35s.
Yeah, his best time 3:29.914, exactly the same lap time as Philip Kraus put earlier in the race. But yeah,
that is Philip Krause's lap. That was lap 75. Max Shepard wasn't in the car at the time. That is Philip Krause's life. Yeah.
Okay, so it listened twice on my live timing. Okay, that's interesting.
Oh right, yeah. I haven't actually seen that he's matched it, unless I'm being completely blind. No, Max Shepard.
Just about with the live timing.
Yeah, Max Shepard only took the car over a handful of laps ago, but he's losing to. He took it over on lap 92 because he had a 5-minute lap time there. Then it was an invalid lap next time, and then it was 2:35. So you compare that against what Craig Baxter, who again has closed in another few attempts, 32:38. That'll be where Craig was avoiding Peter Hayward's car. Then 32:33. So Craig Baxter has had considerable pace over Max Shepard at the moment. And Jack Keithley is also closing in. He's now about 51 seconds down. Bearing in mind that was like 1:10 or so when Max Shepard took the car over. So yeah, Jack Keithley's not hanging around either. Yeah, 32s and 33s for Jack Keithley as well.
Yeah, it's I just figured out how to bring up the lap times in the game, so that sort of helps to see how they've been getting on. But yeah, I mean, he has done some 30s, so he knows how to do that. But as you said, yeah, 2:35s now in recent laps. It's something's not quite working for him at the moment.
We'll see what that last lap time was for Max Shepard, and it was 35 again. So he just seems to not have either maybe there's a problem with the car, maybe just Mac is not comfortable with the car at the moment, but he's a good 3 seconds off of where we've seen that car be. And we have a couple of drivers. Well, we have one driver, David Santos. That's not a name I recognised from earlier. So I think he might have just taken over that blue Aston.
By the way, Craig Baxter only getting it second on that lap. That was a 34 for him. So I think, either the tires are. I mean, I don't expect tires to be a problem for them at this point, since both of them recently came into the car, and normally teams change tires when they are also doing a driver swap.
Yeah, and Keith. Let's have a look at Keithley's lap. 31 for Keithley. So Jack Keithley's really starting to den that gap now down to 48, 48.7 now for Jack Keithley over the leader. So I would not be at all surprised if that carries on. Okay, that would have to carry on for quite a while. But you may well see the top 3 start to cross swords. Possibly, I would imagine, probably before dark.
Yeah. I completely forgot that was going to turn dark at some point. Quite kind of looking forward to see.
Or in-game time must be. Unfortunately, I don't know what that is. By looking at the interface at the moment, it must be kind of coming up to late afternoon, I suppose.
I think it's a little bit behind the real life time in France.
Well, France at the moment is 10:15 at night, so that's most certainly behind that. As Hayden Rhodes in that lemon-coloured Aston comes in, he's in third in class now, so he's managed to capitalise well on the misfortunes of others. We saw Bodanov have a big problem. He's now down in 6th in class, but the GTEs do seem to be still filled, with the exception of, I think, Daniele Pisa. The GTEs are still relatively closely packed. Speaking of, beg your pardon, I was looking at Francesco Morante, who's actually just been lapped by the GT leader. So yeah, that's
he's actually moved out to P4 now in the class, as Hayden Rhodes is in the pit lane. So he's lost out to Bogdanov and Morante, both gone past the pit lane at the moment.
But that shows you actually how close the GT field comparatively is.
Yeah, the top 4 then, or top 3 then, I guess, still on the lead lap. So let's have a quick check. So the gap from Pizzo to seconds in the GT is about 2 minutes 19 seconds at the latest live timing update. Then Peter Jones is a further minute behind that in a third. So it's not quite as close as the top 3 in the LMPs, but still on the same lap. That means anything can happen.
And then Morante and Bodanov are not far apart at all. Both of them just coming off of Tetra Rouge. Actually, Morante has got GT leader Peter right ahead, and Peter Hayward right behind. Doesn't look like Hayward's not actually in a hurry to get past, strangely. Actually, Morante unlapping himself from...
nearly going for the moving leader again.
Yeah, got a little bit scruffy coming through that particular chicane there. It did look like, and he was actually gaining. There wasn't a mistake on Peter's case. That's just Morante getting into the slipstream and actually making a legitimate move. So there's pace still on Morante's car.
Certainly is. Yeah, it's no slouch as he wants to impose himself. Yeah, Pizzo just backs out. He doesn't want any part of of a backmarker trying to battle him. So,
maybe Morante's just been through the pits and Peter is due one. So
yeah, could well be. Seems at this stage anyway that Morante is the fastest out of the 2. And if that is the case, Peter might as well let him go.
Actually, no. Pizzo. I keep doing that. I wonder how many people have made that analogy. Was only actually in the pits about 3 laps ago. So
okay, interesting.
So yeah. Oh.
But of course, if he hasn't changed tires on that sub,
good point.
Means he should be slower than he was beforehand, because the only difference then is a heavier fuel tank.
Javier Caceres is in the pit as well from 10th, I think that is. That was a good guess. Yep, that's 10th in class for Javier Caceres. Fairly standard stop there. And again, that gap at the top continues to fall. Now 20.5 seconds between Baxter and Shepherd. Mac Shepherd was a 34.2 last time, so it was a second quicker than he has been. But on Craig Baxter, that's now down to 17 seconds according to the last time, because that was 32.0 for Baxter. And for Keithley, it was 32.2. So Keithley is on leader's pace. He's got a bit more of a gap to close down, but it does look like Baxter is really closing in and is looking good for the lead if that doesn't change soon.
Yeah, I mean, the way it is going, and the pace of both Baxter and Keithley, it could turn into a battle for the lead, maybe even a three-way battle if you're trying to be optimistic at some point in the future.
Yeah, if Shepherd defends like a god, then perhaps, because exactly. He'll have to really hold up Baxter something chronic for Keithley to close in on that.
Yeah, I believe Shepherd and Baxter know each other as well from various online things, so that could be a sort of rivalry that neither of them want to give up.
Well, you'd have to hold Craig Baxter up by what, 26 seconds or so. So that's quite a long time to hold somebody back for.
Yeah.
But it could be that the Max Shepherd's just not pushing at 3,000%. He could just have backed off a bit, and playing the longer game. Very long way to go, as we've already mentioned. So could be thinking about the longer game, maybe. Just thinking, carry on, don't do anything silly, don't push too hard. Who knows?
Yeah, and as we say that, we need some hype in the chat because we have just passed 6 hours out of 24 in this race. We're a quarter of the way through. We're already 6 hours, or sorry, 5 hours further into the race than any normal race that we would normally commentate on. But we still have 18 hours to go.
18 hours remain of this event. So yeah, that is a long way to go. Anything can happen, particularly when darkness falls. I would imagine that's when the most changes are going to happen.
Yeah, it's a very different thing driving in the night to driving in the daylight.
So here's a question. Again, I asked something similar to Ninja Rider earlier, but I'm not a driver. We all know this. I drive in very small races because that's about as much talent as I have, and I've no bones about admitting that. That's why I go for the commentary box. I know where my talent lies, and it's in front of the mic and not the wheel. But what kind of what kind of preparations rather do you specifically go through when preparing for a 24-hour event?
You have to sort of mentally prepare yourself. It obviously depends a bit as well. When I've done 24-hour race in iRacing, I am usually one of the few that want to stay up for the full 24 hours and maybe do some night driving because I'm crazy. So when you're doing that, even more so than when you're actually getting some nice sleep, you really have to motivate yourself. It has to be said to finish the race, because it is not easy, and I'm sure our broadcaster at the moment, Minor, will face similar things throughout the night, as well as he's going to stay up the full 24 hours to stream this race for you all. But yeah, it's a mindset thing first and foremost. I think in a race like this, just make sure you're properly motivated to finish this. Even if things go wrong, carry on. A lot of things can happen, even though things seem hopeless at a certain stage in the race. A lot of things can happen when it's this long to go in the race, and you just need to carry on. And to be honest, especially having seen how many DNFs we had so far, I believe 13 teams are out. Just finishing the race is an accomplishment. So if these drivers can motivate themselves to just say that if we get to the end, we have really achieved something here, then I'm sure that they'll be able to do it, barring any technical issues, stuff like that happening, because there's not really much you can do about it.
Just had an interesting note given to us by through the chat that Lazarus Philippakos, currently in 4, took that car over from Aidan Blake, is driving on a pad. Oh my goodness me. In that bright blue car in 4th position. You utter lunatic. And fair play to you, but you really don't want to be making this race any harder than it already is. You're driving on a controller. Wow, that is dedication, and that's incredible.
Yeah, it's not usual really to see on games like rFactor and iRacing these you know, high-end simulations. It's not really usual to see drivers driving on a pad. It's you know, drivers who really get into these kind of games or sims tend to have proper wheel setups as well. But you know, some drivers just are talented with their fingers.
Yeah.
Can make it work somehow. Yeah, it's a fair play to him for doing that.
98 laps done as Max Shepard then from the lead crosses the line to start lap 99. Again, his pace is in the 35s, where it has been for quite a few laps, but he is losing time lap on lap over second place Craig Baxter, who is just crossing the line now. Another 33 on the board for Baxter. That is another 2 seconds gone out of the lead. Was borderline a minute when Shepard took the car over, but it is now 14 seconds between himself and Baxter, and Jack Keithley has got his foot very planted on the loud pedal as well. He crosses the line 37 seconds, a 31-0 from Keithley. So Keithley is gaining on Baxter as well. So he's decided now is the time to push, and he's bringing that third place car right into the fight for potentially the lead.
Yeah, this is what we like to see. You know, the thing is, in a race like this, in a 24-hour race, especially now with fewer and fewer drivers on the grid, these guys will spend most of the race not battling anyone at all. It's all about putting the times in. It's all about managing the various aspects of the car, fuel, tires, everything else. But suddenly, you find yourself in with the chance of catching someone and actually having a battle, and that brings some extra motivation. I'm sure Baxter and Keithley really want to catch up to the car ahead here, and they are really pushing, it seems, to get it done. And yeah, for us watching as well, it's what we like to see when second place is catching on the first and third place is catching on both of them.
That's kind of made me wonder what's... speaking of Lazarus, what is this? He's been doing 33s, 34s as well, and he's on a pad. My God, that is absolutely amazing. Fair play to you. And he's, I think, I'm just looking through the lap time chart. I don't remember when he actually took over from Blake. It was back in lap 74. And the lap times were fairly comparable, actually. I think, if anything, Lazarus Philippakis is actually a little bit quicker, but he does seem a little bit more consistent, at least. Just having a quick browse through the laps. I'm meaning that in no disrespect to the previous driver whatsoever, because, as I've already mentioned, I certainly couldn't do this. So I hold anybody that can do these kind of endurance events in the utmost respect, as Sergio Dominguez comes in from 12th. He's seconding the GT class, so he's in. I think he's having tyres on that Aston, so still plenty. Oh no, that was just a quick fuel stop. Out he goes then, and where is Morante? Morante's just coming through the portico, so Dominguez will hold on to second in class. Yeah,
won't be too far between them, but you know, a big enough gap for Morante to be for Dominguez, sorry, to be comfortable at the moment. Quickly, let's have a quick look at these guys' lap times as well. So Dominguez doing around 4 minutes, 4 minute ones. Usually, obviously, they might change now with a heavier car again, having filled that up. Whereas Morante is doing, yeah, he's very fast actually. He's doing 3:56s, 57s, 55 now on the final lap as he crosses the line. For Morante, running third in the GT class. So he is catching on second.
Wow, that is impressive then. As we have now started lap 100. Max Shepard has just crossed the line yet again. I mean, that is consistent. He's hit 35 for 7, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of the last 7 laps he's been in the 35. So it is consistent, but the problem is the guys behind him are consistently quicker. Craig Baxter, now 11.3 seconds behind, has been hitting the 32s and 33s at a consistent pace. Jack Keithley is just coming across the line now to start the lap ton. I don't think he gained... 33 for him as well, so he gained on He didn't gain really anything on Baxter, but would have gained a bit on Shepherd as he comes past Peter Jones as he comes into the Dunlop curve. So that top 3 is really condensing. I do wonder, though, whether Max Shepherd either just does not get on with the setup of that car or has got a problem. I was watching him come through the Corvette curves, and he was really seeming to struggle. There's no obvious damage on that car. It's quite difficult to tell from, unless a massive chunk of it's missing. It's quite difficult to tell if there's any real substantial damage. But I wonder whether it's either just, you know, an incompatible setup, so to speak, so it worked very well for whoever was previously in that car, who I've completely forgotten who it was, or whether it's just a case of, you know, not a bad setup, it just doesn't work for Max Shepherd's style, or whether indeed there is a problem with the car. It's just, whatever it is not working well for the leader cars. Now less than 10 seconds separates the first 2.
Yeah, it's hard to say, really. It's obviously he has been running 30s, and no, actually, no, he hasn't, because I was before the driver's off, and he just doesn't say the other guy's name. Yeah, so he's running significantly slower than what his teammate was doing before, and maybe, you know, he just is slower, or he's running lower engine setting, maybe trying to stretch out his stint a little bit more, or he might, as you say, have had some kind of contact with something. But I mean, he's been running in the 35s and with one dip into the 34s since his pit stop. So I think it might just be the pace he's going at the moment.
He's going to have some company soon from that second place car, Craig Baxter. He took it over from Jem Bulabasi a little while ago, and he has been absolutely flying since. But don't discount Jack Keithley. He has been absolutely flying in that third place car as he catches up to and quite easily passes Hayden Rhodes. The next one down the line is Bojan Bodanov. A little while before he catches up with him, but won't have too much trouble getting past the blue Aston. We were talking earlier, Vizzy, about very attractive liveries, and I still have a particular fondness for 27th place Simon Clausen. That multicoloured Aston, I think, is absolutely... It's running, unfortunately, in last, but it is beautiful.
It is a nice colour combination, isn't it? Bit of a nice orange at the front, a nice transition over to the purple. And
oh
no! Yes, we've ruined it.
Yeah, commentators curse again. I'm going to be banned from the commentary box soon, because that was a very weird lag moment there between himself. It was actually Francesco Moranti. It looked like there was impact, but Moranti's actually in, so the front of Moranti's car looks fine, but that was just a very strange lag moment there for Simon Clausen, who again he's also bringing his car in now. He did hit the wall a little bit. It wasn't particularly.
I missed the contact.
It was a significant contact, but the car still seems to be in the correct shape, at least. But
yeah, it looked like there was a touch from one of the GT cars trying to lap Simon Clausen there in 27th place, and
maybe Moranti.
Maybe some lag contact. Yeah, he did clonk the front of his car into the barrier.
He did.
But visually, I mean, the front looks relatively fine.
But we'll see then how long they remain in the pits for, but I think it's going to be a while. And now 100 laps is now complete at this AOR 24-hour of Le Mans. Yet again,
100 lap hype in the chat, please.
Yet again, 3:35 for Max Shepherd and 3:31 for Craig Baxter and 3:32 for Jack Keithley. So something's not working for Max Shepherd at the moment. He's going to be under all kinds of pressure. I wouldn't be at all surprised, though, with the pace difference between Shepherd and Baxter. I wouldn't be surprised if Mac let him go a little bit, as we have had a driver change. I think that is indeed Francesco Moranti has handed that car over to Lorenzo Emili, and he will come out. Wow, you can see how many positions he's lost. He was second in class. He now comes out in 7th.
It is actually quite close then between 2nd to 7th in the GT class. And speaking of close, the battle for 3rd in class, it's actually Hayden Rhodes and Bojan Bogdanov 13th overall. They are head and tail.
Yeah, Bonnelov's just lost that one. He was ahead of Hayden Rose for a while, so the Lemon Aston has taken that third place. But yeah, I don't think Peter Jones has actually just come through Tetra Rouge, so he's not too far behind. I mean, they're on the same stretch of road, but then Nadia is a very long stretch of road, to be fair. But yeah, comparatively speaking, the GTs have been pretty close for a very long time, and it continues to be the case, and it's not going to be too long before Craig Baxter will start to see Max Shepard. 6.6 is what separates the pair of them. And oh!
Shepard's been off!
Yeah, just saw that. He's gone off at Arnage. And again, that's what makes me think there is actually something wrong with the car, as opposed to just, an incompatibility, because he actually looks quite slow coming out of Arnage. But he's, of course, recovered from that incident, and that's going to put Baxter right on his case. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Shepard comes in pretty doing. Oh, he's going to catch Dominguez at a terrible moment. Dominguez tried to get out of the way, or he'd simply understeered off the road. But yeah, that again's going to hold Shepard up. But yeah, it is all unravelling a little bit for that lead car.
Yeah, Max Shepard then driving for Vulcan Racing. I've been holding the lead since he came into the car, but the VD Sports car with Craig Baxter in at the moment is really hunting him down. That spin that he had on this lap will certainly not help either, and is getting loose on the curb out of the final corner as well. Let's see what that lap time was for Max Shepard. That was
39.
9, yes. He's lost about 4 seconds there from that spin. Not the end of the world, but it really won't help with a... I mean, Baxter was already closing faster than he would have liked as it was. And now it's only 2.7 seconds between the top two in this 24-hour race after over 6 hours of racing.
Indeed. And Max Shepard's not been in that car comparatively long, but is just not coming together for him now. Craig Baxter has got him very much in his sights.
It's another battle actually for 6th place. Alexi Fagerstrom in the Finnish team, just ahead of Sergio Sanchez, and Sanchez seems to be closing actually on the straight as well. This could be a potential overtake incoming to come towards the second corner on this Mulsanne straight. Sanchez pulling to the inside.
He chose not to go through it. Yeah, he's going to try and get a decent exit from there. I would imagine that's what he's going to try and go for. Oh, he was very hesitant actually.
Yeah, he lost too much time on the entry to that corner. Just backed off a bit too much, really.
Yeah. For whatever reason, he just decided not to follow that one through, and behind them is that blue Aston Luca Di Emilio. I didn't see that particular driver change happen. Now 1.6 separates the top two. Max Shepard, Craig Baxter. It's been coming for lap on lap on lap as they two
on board with Craig,
and they come through that second chicane on board with our second place man. There is his prey. It does look like Max Shepard's now beginning to get the toe down, but of course that lead has completely evaporated, and they've got Peter Hayward's car in that mix as well. So hopefully Hayward won't get in the way. And no, indeed he doesn't. He well and truly jumps out of the way. He's running last in class. So yeah, you can understand why he didn't want to get in the way of the lead battle. Whether he wouldn't have wanted to get in the way of the GT class, let alone the race lead. So both of them pretty evenly matched, exactly as you say. They've raced together many a time before, and it does look like, I mean, this battle has been coming on. That's half a second also gone out of the lead this lap alone, and I would imagine they're going to be, Craig's going to be in striking range within the next lap, I'd say.
Yeah, certainly looks like it. It's within a second now, I think, as they come through the right-hander just into the final sector of this long Le Mans lap. And Shepard, what is he thinking right now? He's probably been watching the gap coming down throughout this stint so far.
That's got to be demoralising as hell. Yeah. Especially if you're pushing like mad. If you were just kind of just running your own pace, you even if you're kind of backing off, just doing the long game, that's one thing. But if you're really pressing on, you're just seeing your lead to the guy behind just evaporate. That's got to be so destroying. I guess it depends on who it is. I mean, if you know full well that the guy behind you is legitimately quicker than you, you know, if I went up against you, for instance, there was no way in hell I'd keep you behind me. So
obviously,
well, without saying. So yeah, in that circumstance, you wouldn't expect to give them behind him. There you go. There he goes. Yeah, Max Shepard had a pretty uncomfortable run yet again through the forward curves. So that lead has now finally handed over to Craig Baxter. And Jack Keithley is just coming into the last few chicanes as well. So that just shows you how much time he's gained on Max Shepard. He's now going to... He hasn't been gaining too much time on Baxter, though. His gain has been on Shepard. And that last lap... Well, that last lap was actually 31 for Keithley. So 22.8 seconds separates him from Baxter now. And just Shepard, that car has just not worked for him. It's such a shame to see.
Yeah, I mean, he's still running in a good position, of course. His teammates have done a good job, and you can't say that he's driving badly. Max Shepard is just not quite at the level that Craig Baxter is at the moment. He's obviously one of the fastest rFactor drivers that are sort of regulars in AOR on this game. One of the coordinators as well for the F1 League, taking place on some Saturdays, where he also drives. And coming past one of the GT cars at the moment, and I expect that Baxter will just carry on his pace and try to extend this gap as much as possible. Yeah, keep doing what he's doing so far. I think they're also in similar strategies, really. I think they pitted at a relatively similar time, about 13 laps ago. Craig was in the pit. Let's have a quick look. I think it's a similar time for Shepard as well. Yeah, about 12 laps for Shepard since he was in the pit. So they should be on the similar strategy as well. Similar tire life, similar fuel level in the car as well.
Bojan Bodanov comes in. So another scheduled slot then for the 5th place in class runner. He of course had that big accident a while ago, so that knocked him down the order. Max Shepard has maintained a less than a second gap, interestingly, behind Baxter. So he hasn't just let him go, which is interesting. But so on the straights, he's most certainly got the pace to keep up, but it's in the corners where he will lose out the most.
Yeah, when you are a slow car and you're just been passed by a faster one, it's sort of always in your mindset to try and keep up with him, try and use the slipstream a little bit, maybe try and learn a little bit from the lines they're taking, even to adapt to driving, to get a little bit closer on pace. But yeah, it's always going to be hard to keep up with a driver like Craig Baxter. It's a daunting task, and I think Max Shepard is he's doing a solid job, but is gradually falling away from the new leader.
Yeah, I still reckon there's damage to that car, because it is, and again, here he comes through the Porsche and Corvette curves. It's just his car is so loose. He's nowhere near the apexes. So I mean, either Max Shepard, he himself is having trouble. Yeah, maybe can happen. You're coming into your stint, you're not feeling on top of your game. But I wonder whether there is damage to that car, because he's just struggled in the corners for so long, and hence why we've seen that lead evaporate. So it wouldn't be at all surprised if he has actually hit something and got some damage to the front, but decided to run with it as opposed to get it sorted earlier on. And yep, Bodanov has handed that car over to Joao Piteus. And out he comes, and he, again, because of how close the GT field is, he will come out in, it's about 8th place, I think. 9th position in class. Oh, wow! That's one way to warm your tyres up, I suppose.
Yeah, good work. I mean, the last thing you want to do is sort of flat spot them or whatever you do when you slide them sideways across the track, but I'm sure he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. What's the worst that can happen? Well, we know what the worst that can happen is.
Yeah, it's already happened to several teams.
Yes, as the pad warrior Lazarus Philippakis has come in. Absolutely. I mean, running in 4th. I mean, his car was in 4th when he took it over, but he has maintained that gap. Again, and there's another driver change I didn't spot. Eduardo Del Rican He's just coming up to Indianapolis, so there's a tyre change going on that 4th place car. We'll see if he hands that over to anybody else, but he's had incredible pace. You know, real decent pace. It's not like he's been really falling through the field. He's actually been, looking at the last few laps, with the exception of the previous one, of course he was just running into the pits, he's actually been quicker than Max Shepard for the last few laps.
Mm.
That just puts it in perspective of how good he's been.
Certainly does. And Philip Parker still waiting to get back out on track. Will there be a driver swap as well? Let's have a look here.
There's quite a few drivers waiting in the wings, I think. Yeah, well, there are a few. So we will see. I'm keeping an eye on him to see if he does hand that over to someone.
Nope.
Nope. Tyres and fuel. No, the Bad Warrior rides again. Also, the ambient and track temperature is continuing to fall. It's not low. Well, 17 is comparatively low in racing terms.
Oh, it's going to be close, actually. P5 Eduardo Little Rincon is going to be coming down the main straight now, just as Philip Parker comes out onto the track again. That's only a matter of a few seconds that he had in hand there.
And yeah, it was on lap 98, so it was only about 5 laps ago when Eduardo Rincon had been in, so there's no pit stop due for him. So there's a battle then for 4th, and Lechevre comes in 15th position overall, now 5th in class. I think there's a tyre change going on for him.
Yeah, by the way, a battle for P6 in LMP that we briefly saw a bit of earlier. Alexi Fagerström has since then just ran away from Sergio Sanchez. It's in a quite clear 6th place at the moment as he goes in the final couple of chicanes. It's about somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds between them now.
Indeed. And Lechevre is already on the way, so it was just fuel for the GT runner, but of course, as mentioned before, and race leader Craig Baxter has brought his car in. Max Shepard has continued, interestingly. That was 5 seconds to the good from when Craig Baxter took the lead, which was only 3 laps ago. He built up 5 seconds in that time, and Max Shepard has interestingly chosen to continue. Jack Keithley had dropped that gap down to around 18 seconds. He's continued as well, so he goes up into 2nd position. And there is Johnny Fons in that lovely dark purple Aston as well. He's come in from, it's about 12th, I think, in class, and that was very quick for Baxter. He did not want to hang around. Car number 44 is on the way again.
Yeah, I think Baxter is 1 lap sort of behind Shepard and Keithley in terms of pit strategy. Yeah, he pitted 15 laps ago, whereas Shepard and Keithley still need to do this next lap to have pitted 15 laps ago.
Right, yeah, I follow. So we will see then how that shakes up. So, of course, a pretty quick stop. And oh, Shepard had Lechevre right in his face coming through that first chicane. He's got quite a few GT cars right here. There is Sergio Sanchez. Next car down the road, that's 7th. But he's going to look to put a lap back on. That's always a little awkward. You're trying to run your race and you've got a lot of cars around you. Especially if you've been running a long time. That's got to be pretty distracting.
Yeah, but it is distracting in a way. But you know, it's one of the things that makes these endurance races fun, having the multi-class and having to deal with the traffic. Because if you didn't have that in a race like this, where most of the time you're spending relatively lonely in terms of your own class, I'm watching Craig Baxter actually cut across one of the chicanes there on the Mulsanne, misjudging his braking point a little bit for that corner. Maybe slightly cooler brakes having been through the pits, but yeah, it adds an element. It just makes the race more interesting as a driver. To first of all, for the LMP guys to have to deal with the GTs, because then at least you get to see some cars, you get to pass some cars even if they're quite a bit slower, and you just have something extra to do in the race, so to speak. Even if a lot of the time you're catching the GTs at a bad place, and it can be quite frustrating, especially if you are actually in a proper battle with another car in your class. But yeah, for the GTs as well, maybe not so much fun for them getting passed all the time by the LMPs, but at least it's something else to deal with as well.
I suppose it helps focus the mind a bit. It must be so easy if you're on your own, lap on lap on lap on lap, just to run into autopilot, and the potential for mistake is very clearly there. But then if you've got other cars you have to deal with,
oh my goodness!
Oh,
a huge GT cross behind, just as Max Shepard went through them. Who was that?
That's Carlis Scrimanis that has actually left the circuit. His car is bounced out of bounds. Who was the other one that was with him?
What position was he in?
25th was the red Aston.
Yeah, so he's 25th place. Carlis Scrimanis is off the street, on the grass on the other side of the barrier.
Who was the other one? There was 2 cars that were bouncing around. I'm trying to find who the other one was.
Yeah, there was definitely 2 cars flying into the air there.
As Max Shepard has brought his car in.
Oh no.
That's a horrific accident, yeah. Carlis Scrimanis. His car's actually still running, but he's on the wrong side of the barrier.
I wonder if there's a way to get back on track.
Well, he's going to...
He'll just have to run along the barrier on the outside and try and find a way through, really.
He's actually grounded the car. Oh, no, there he goes. He actually beats the car a little bit.
Oh, my goodness.
Well,
did you figure out who the second car was?
I didn't, but Jesus Sanchez has just come in, so I wonder if he was the other one. There's no obvious damage to...
I think it was a dark coloured car. It might have been Jeremy Frid in 24th, just because they're that position ahead, if that was actually a battle for position.
Possibly. I mean, Jeremy Frid has only just taken that car on. So,
yeah,
Scrimanis is back on track. He found a gap.
Yay! He did it.
There are actually, if I've just noticed, actually, there are gaps along that wall. So he has actually managed. That was incredible. I thought that would be his day done. I thought that car was destroyed, but as you can quite clearly see, Carlis Scrimanis is continuing. He's not pitting either.
Wow. I mean, he was flying. I don't know if it was caught on the broadcast, but he was flying along with another car.
I
did not catch that until he was over the wall.
I saw the part of that accident as well. Just as you kind of screamed there, Vizzy. I managed to find it. Yeah, he was literally end over end over end. But I think a lot of the impact happened outside of the barrier. So whether the game kind of acknowledges that as an actual hit because it's not inbound, so to speak. I'm clutching at straws. I do not know how that car is not completely destroyed and how he has chosen not to pit it.
Yeah, and actually...
And Frid is out!
Is out of the race, and that might well be the other car that was flying there.
Yeah, must have been.
I didn't see it on the broadcast, obviously. I was just watching Max Shepard, I think, going through, as he was leading at the time. He's been through the pits now, so he's actually down to second again, behind Craig Baxter. But yeah, I was just watching him go through a pack of GTs, and in the middle of that pack, 2 cars flying vertically into the air next to each other. It was really quite spectacular. And then, of course, as we saw, Carlis Scrimanis ending up on the wrong side of the barrier, managing to make it back on. So he's still running, but yeah, Jeremy Frid, who we believe was the other car, unfortunately, is now out of this race.
The only other one it could be is another driver change we've had is I can't pronounce this properly. Timotej Andonavsky, which is 23rd, which is also another dark-coloured Aston, but he is minding his own business, carrying on. But yeah, I think the evidence would be Jeremy Frid by the fact that he has retired his car. So yeah, or it has been retired for him. Whether he wanted
it's the correct colour as well as what I saw back there.
Yeah,
flying Aston Martins.
Yeah, that's not the way these cars are designed. They're not designed to be airborne. So Jack Keithley now is 20 seconds from the lead, and he can now see Max Shepard. There's 9 seconds separating the two. Shepard has got Peter Hayward, and that's Rohi. Pava also Rohi that he's got as well, as Hayward backs out of the throttle and lets Max Shepard go. So Jack Keithley, his efforts aren't going unrewarded. Oops! And that was Rohi turning into Max Shepard at Indianapolis. There was a little bit of a just front wing to side pod there. Max Shepard has got enough trouble with that car. He doesn't need anybody trying to help him with it. Yeah, Jack Keithley. There he is, just going through Arnage. So that is 8.5 seconds that separates second and third. And Craig Baxter is well and truly on it now. 10 seconds. He's built up that lead back up to 10 now. A few scruffy laps last time around, but he is leading the way by quite a impressive turn of pace.
Yeah. So we have then VD Sports in the lead of this race with Baxter currently in the car. Vulcan Racing running second, 10 seconds behind with Max Shepard. And then it is ACR Zach Speed with Jack Keithley closing in on that second place spot at the moment. As you said, about 9 seconds between Shepard and Keithley. Gap's going to update though as we come across the line. He's now 12.6 from Shepard up to Craig Baxter, so another fast lap from Baxter in the lead of this race. Keithley now coming across the line, and well, it's a similar gap from Keithley to Baxter, so they're running a similar pace, but that means of course that Keithley has continued to catch in on Max Shepard.
Indeed. And Baxter has got Lechev right with him and easily scythes his way past the Aston. And continues on his merry way along the Hanardi 8. He's got who's that? That's him. That's Emili Lorenza. Emili right ahead of him. Daniele Pisa, Pizzo, I keep doing that, is still leading the way in the GT field. A lap clear of Sergio Dominguez. He himself coming through the I think it's the Corvette, Porter and Corvette curbs. Hayden Rhodes in third. Oh, was that someone having a bit of trouble behind him? No, possibly not. I think it was just someone getting slightly out of shape. It was Hayden Rhodes looking to put a lap on Jesus Sanchez. And there he goes in that brightly coloured Aston. Peter Jones in fourth in class with Fagerstrom for company. There goes the LMP. They coming through Arnage. And Lorenzo Emili, as mentioned, is fifth in the GT field. Craig Baxter leading the way in the LMPs. Max Shepard 2. Jack Keithley in 3. He's got a face full of Simon Clausen, who are due to get out of the way. Lazarus Philippakas, the Pad Warrior, continues in 4th with Eduardo Dolican in 5th overall.
Indeed. So, let's see if we can find any close battling out on track. It seems relatively spread out at the moment. Not really by 24-hour race standards, especially the top 3 in the LMPs within 20 seconds, but seem to be any immediate wheel-to-wheel battles that we are seeing. Oh, Peter Jones in 14th has had a bit of a problem at penultimate chicane. Managed to get it running nicely again though. But he was sliding across one of the curbs there. So we have a few cars back in the pits. Jesus Sanchez, oh, he was recently in the pits. I think they might be having some problems.
Yeah.
He was recently coming out of the pits not long ago at all. Running 11th in GT, 21st overall. Car behind as well, 22nd is Jan Niklas Weiter. He is in the pits as well. I think they're on the same lap as well. So that's actually close for position. But Sanchez's team, now with the new driver, Daniel Cuervo, they are moving back out of the pits now, so they will retain that position.
Indeed.
Another pitter in the LMP class, Alexis Fagerström, for the Finnish team. He will carry on for another stint by the looks of it. As he comes back out on track, no immediate danger from behind. That is Baxter going past him to put him 3 laps down, I believe.
Lucas Muller has taken over that particular car. And out he comes then to do what he can. It's quite a way down. It's about 12th, 13th or so. It was indeed 12th. Oh, nearly caught. I think it's Andowski that's right with him, which is oh no, that's Lechev. Almost caught the back of Lechev's car there. That would have been awkward, as Lechev is 7th, I think, in class. And Timote and Andonovsky comes in as well in that purple Aston. And Eric Torres, the last car in the pack, is in there for a while. I wonder whether he's going to... And there it is. Borja Hernandez has taken that one over, and on he goes again.
Just writing some stuff. Yeah, obviously the commentary schedule a little bit
it's a
affected as well,
bit skewed, yeah.
at the start. Yeah, I think. Oh god, as Baxter went past, Cuarto just came out of the pits. Yeah, obviously. Just like the driver's schedules will have been affected by the late starts, and so has in a way the commentary schedules a little bit as well. It's I mean, the commentary we're kind of like a team of our own in this race, doing stints and all everything. It's just that we're not driving, we're talking instead. So we too have to deal with the case of when to swap around.
And Carlos Skimanis brings in the flying red Aston. Has come back into the pits. And Andonovsky still stationary. Peter Hayward brings his car in. And on goes Peter Hayward. He's remained in his car. I wonder if Skimanis is going to remain in the red Aston, or whether he will hand that one over. Jack Keithley, though, is within 3 seconds of Max Shepard. So the issues with that second place car has continued. Jack Keithley is looking to capitalise on it. He's 21 seconds down from Craig Baxter, so he's not been able to match the pace of the now race leader, Craig Baxter, but he is pressing on, and he looks like he's going to be taking that second place over pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm just typing a little bit, so if you want to mind.
That's cool, that's fine. With the race being shuffled around, of course, the commentator schedule has gone a little bit cuckoo. As
I think, but I think it might be worth turning our attention to. Well, I think we have that attention already, but yeah, Mac, Shepard, and Keithley getting closer by the second.
Indeed, you see Keithley just riding over the curbs. Shepard, last time, is he still in the 35s? Broadly speaking, because he was in the pits a couple of laps ago, and he's again 35-2 as the lap he's just done. Keithley at 32, and Baxter, see what his was, 33. So Keithley well and truly on leader's pace, and he's going to be right with Shepard very soon. Who's that he's catching up to? That is a Daniel Cuervo in the Aston. Oh, he had to back out of that, did Jack. So not slam into the back of the Aston, but navigated his way past pretty comfortably. Now coming onto the King-Kodiak. Through Tete Rouge once more. Of course, Max Shepard has got the straight line pace, but not the cornering efficiency he needs to be able to stay at the sharp end. Well, top three is still sharp end, to be fair. That sounds a little more disingenuous than I meant. And gap third to fourth, though, is pretty substantial. Lazarus Philippakis is just coming into the Portuguese now, as Jack Keithley is through the first chicane, so there's a good half a lap at very least between the two. I think there's actually a full lap, so that's 1.5 laps actually separating third to fourth, as Callum Roberts comes in from 8th position. He's not been in the car, well, he's probably been in the car long enough by his own standards, but by endurance standards I don't think he's been in there too long, so he may not necessarily be looking to hand that over to anybody else just yet.
Yeah, Callum Roberts driving for the Royal Blue Racing team.
Soon.
Yeah, Max Shepard and Jack Keithley, we keep mentioning those names, and 2 seconds now separates the pair of them, coming into the Mulsanne hairpin. Both of them taking it quite comfortably.
Yeah, we do have, by the way, Daryl Russell waiting in the interview box for us, but I think we should wait with him till after this battle that is most likely going to happen very soon. Then we can potentially get him in.
We either try and grab him before this battle ensues, or try and grab him afterwards.
Yeah, I think it might be dangerous to go before, because Keithley is closing at the rate of knots here. Not going to be long if he carries on the same way until he's right at the back of Max Shepard. You can see it in the shot, of course, how close they are.
Mm-hmm. Whatever the issue is not been able to be resolved in pit stops. So again, it kind of puts paid to my theory that there is damage to the car, as I would have expected that to have been repaired by now. He has been through the pits at least twice since taking that car over. So it would just seem to be the setup does not work for Shepard, as they're actually catching up to the flying Aston once again of Scrimanis. Oh, that's going to catch Keithley out slightly. No, he's managed to navigate that one, and that gap is getting pretty small now. Shepard will be hearing the roar of Keithley's engine pretty soon, if he can't already.
I'm on board with Keith.
And because they crossed the line... Oh, Baxter's had a slow lap. He's actually lost time to the pair of them.
Yeah.
That was a 35. Well, slow by his standard was a 35. So it's still a damn impressive lap by normal standards.
But yeah, riding on board then with Jack Keithley for ACR, running in third. I've been in third for a long, long time. I believe ever since he got in the car anyway. And
yeah.
He's really now riding the back of Max Shepard.
Yeah, this is where it's going to happen. He wants a decent exit. You can see Shepard just couldn't hang on to the line he wanted through Tetra Rouge. This is where Keithley wants to get into the slipstream. He's gaining. He's going to want to get this done before he gets to the chicane. Shepard doesn't go to cover the inside line. There goes Jack Keithley. That surely is going to be job done before they get to the braking zone. He's nudged ahead, and that is second position then. Handed over to the white P2 car. Currently piloted by Jack Keithley, and indeed Max Shepard really didn't have an answer to that. It had been coming for a while. 19.7 seconds separates second to first. So, as we did see earlier, Craig had that bit of a slower lap that's enabled Jack Keithley just to remain in contention. But that gap is absolutely nothing when there's so many hours to go.
It really isn't. Yeah, Mac not really putting up too much of a fight with that one, just like when Craig Baxter came through as well. But as you said, that's the thing. Obviously, in real life and stuff, we occasionally see very feisty battles during 24-hour races as well. But when it's this long to go, and especially when a driver knows that he doesn't quite have the pace of the other guy that is close to, it is quite often that sort of battles don't last too long, as we maybe would have wanted. Shepard doing a reasonable job to keep close to him, though, onto this straight. I'm not sure if the slipstream will be strong enough, or if he even wants to try to get past there, because he'll certainly, if he tries to get back at him there, that'll certainly slow them both down in comparison to Baxter. And if you're thinking of the long game, of course, it's Shepard knows that he has other really fast drivers in the team. Of course, Philip Kraus, the fastest man in the race so far in terms of single lap pace anyway, is another driver that will be coming back into the car at some point later, as they're both getting held up by Casares in that GT. He's not doing anything wrong, and he's nearly turning in there to Max Shepard, but just saw him in time to back out of that apex.
Yeah, that could have got nasty. So we have Christopher Larson and Daniele Pizzo coming in as well. Let's have a word with Daryl Russell. He's been waiting in the wings quite patiently to have a word with us. Let's grab him over, and there he is. Daryl Russell, are you with us? Nope, we're not hearing. Oh, there you are.
Hey, he's there.
So the race didn't go quite as you planned.
Not really, no. I mean, my stint is, well, it didn't go too bad for me. I had a couple of spins here and there and a couple of scrapes with the wall. I got drafted in with the team at the last minute for Infinity Racing, so I only had like, what's I say, about a day and an evening to practice going from a P2, which my original team was going to enter, into a Aston Martin.
Wow.
So you can imagine the changeover driving from a P2 back to a GT.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Completely. I mean, was there any indication that there was trouble with the car before the engine let go?
No, this is what I couldn't get my head around. I mean, on my stint, I didn't have any problem with engine overheating or any issue with the boost or anything like that. I just can't understand why. When I changed over to Marco, the engine just blew up literally a few metres down the road after you left the pits. So we're trying to investigate what it was. I could have done it, but it is as it is. And I'll try to do the best for Infinity Racing, and I like to think at short notice I've been a pretty good contribution to them to get them somewhere in the race before we blew up. Just unfortunate as well that my team, DR Motorsport, couldn't do the race today because, all my drivers had real life commitments, so unfortunately we couldn't do it. But I'm honoured that Infinity Racing invited me into race for them, and it's unfortunate we didn't get lucky.
That's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But we appreciate you taking the time to come and speak to us. It must be very disheartening, especially because of having to kind of rush, so to speak, for yourself, coming in at the very last minute. I mean, how much did you have to kind of change from the way you'd obviously prepared driving a P2 car? How much of it obviously is a major change, but what sort of things did you have to alter driving style-wise to fit into the Aston?
Well, luckily I've driven the Aston Martin GT before, so and I've driven it at Le Mans before as well, over at race department, I think it was. And I already had a setup which we could have used, and I let the team use it. We tweaked it a little bit to everyone's liking. And the difference going from a P2 to a GT is just the driving style. With GT, in some corners you have to maybe go down 1 or 2 gears compared to the P2 car.
Sure.
Also, so the strategy is a little bit different. Pit stops, tyres. Also, what I don't like about driving a GT is that you're constantly having to look in your mirrors, and that's what I was doing quite a lot on this race. Just not looking forward, looking back.
Yeah, sure.
Behind me. But luckily, I got the crew chief and the pit crew telling me what's going on. But that's one of the disadvantages of driving a GT car. It's just that you're not looking where you're going mainly. It's always what's coming up behind you. Whereas in a P2 car, you're looking ahead of you, and and watching how you lap the GT.
Sure. Well, it's a shame that the race didn't go your way, but thanks for coming to talk to us. We appreciate it. It's very frustrating for you, but better luck next time, as they say. And like I say, hope it goes your way next time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. The GT's now starting to hit the century, as Daniele Pizzo and Domingos both have started lap 100.
It feels like quite a while ago that the Olympics had that milestone passed. Of course, that's a speed difference. That's 12 laps ahead now, or 11 laps technically, since Baxter has not gone past Pizza for the 12th time just yet. So 11 laps down is the lead GT compared to the lead LMP after nearly 7 hours of racing.
Indeed, and
so I think we have a potential battle actually in the GT class for 15th class, 15th overall. Thomas Lachevre and Lorenzo Emily running with a couple of seconds apart, and I think actually 17th, 18th, and 19th, and not too far spread out either. It's maybe about 5-10 seconds between the three of them. So could be some potential GT battles.
That's
incoming.
That makes me laugh because, again, with the endurance races I've done for AOR previously, it did tend to be the GTEs where I would look if there was any kind of actual position battling going on. That's just that's the nature of the beast, though. The speed differential top to bottom is nowhere near as great. Of course, the setup differences between the car, the driver differences between the cars. The faster the car, the more that difference is exasperated. So in the GTEs, they're obviously a little bit closer in pace, top to bottom. Also, you know, all the GTEs are exactly the same car, not the same setup, of course, in this particular race. So that's why we're seeing quite a few kind of clubs of battle in the GT classes. They've got much more kind of even machinery. Yes, the LMPs are similar, but of course, because they're faster cars, those differences are exasperated as the Lemon Aston goes over to James Pinsker. What did you see, Fizz?
Yeah, it's literally about the Lemon Lambo, because that's been in the pits for a while. It's had a driver change, which means a long pit stop, and it's just lost out to both the Chevra and Emily, the two guys we were talking about, who were close together. So he's down to 6th in class, and yeah, now we can carry on making your point.
Well, no, that was pretty much it. The Lemon Lambo reference coming out. For those unsure of what we mean, there is when me and Fizzy commentated on season 8. Must have been season 8.
Yes, I guess so.
One of Fizzy's beloved Lamborghinis was in this bright lemon colour, and so therefore I nicknamed it the Lemon Lambo. And oh goodness me, Pinsker is not getting to grips with that car. He's swerving all over the place. And when we came to commentating season 9, there was Lambos, but they weren't Lemon Lambos, and I couldn't stop myself from saying Lemon Lambo. And yeah, of course, Fizzy actually said Lemon Lambo instead of Lemon Aston, so the Aston's now become a Lamborghini. That will really help him in the race.
That would be great, to be honest. I mean, the Aston Martin doesn't look bad, but the Lamborghini is, it's, you know, I think it's known by now that that is
you're a bit of a
my
fan.
favorite. Yeah, a bit of a Lamborghini guy in terms of the GT. GT cars. That's the GT3 League and Project cars, by the way. We were talking about there, if anyone was wondering.
Yeah. Season 10, sign-ups open.
Yeah, exactly.
I can get away with that. It's another AOR league. Oh, wow. Whoa, wow. Keithley just put in a 330.6 last time around against Baxter's 333. 633. So yeah, a big chunk of lead suddenly gone, and there's less than 20 seconds between Keithley and Baxter, and that's about where that gap has been for a while. So yes, Max Shepard is now 10 seconds behind Jack Keithley. So whatever it is that is plaguing Max car is continuing. It's not getting any better.
Certainly. And let's have a look. Lechevre and Emily, now they're not really closing up at the moment. They're still close, but not closing. Pinsker still running close behind. Paavo Otto-Rohi in 17th overall. He's running only 2nd and 2 ahead of Joao Pizzaz. And then I saw someone in the chat actually ask about where the Ligier was. Of course, as we start the race, there's a single Ligier in the field of mainly Orekas in the LMP2 class, and he's is that Peter Haywood then, who is running P10 at the moment in that sole Ligier. Doesn't seem like it's working out too well for them.
I think that is fair to say. And at this point, there is going to be a commentator change. It is myself that is signing out. Returning to the box is the man, the Le Mans God. It is Ninja Rider returns to us once again. Hello, good sir.
The Le Mans God. Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've finished many a Le Mans race with half the car gone, but yeah. I don't know if I've taken a win yet, but this is why I'm a commentator. Can't win the dang race.
At this point, I am going to sign out. It's been a great pleasure commentating for this race for AOR alongside Lord God Fizzy. Thank you very much for having me in here. Always a pleasure. I am now going to hand over to Ninja Rider. And once again, thank you, Miner, for doing a great job behind the cameras. And also a big shout out to the organisers, the coordinators, everybody that has made this event possible. It needs quite a lot of people. not just our drivers, and of course a thank you to them for putting on a great show for us so far. I mean, the top 3 still within 30 seconds after several hours of racing and 112 laps done is pretty damn amazing. So I'm going to sign out. Thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you again soon.